What is good morning? It is a good morning. How about it? Can you guys hear me? Let me check and see on this app. You guys can hear me. If the volume's good, let me know what you can hear me or not. Give folks another minute or two to get in here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, so just as a reminder, I'm out here going on without a script. Okay, and given enough time, I might say things that are not friendly for the young one's ears. So if you're listening, you have your computer speakers on, or you're listening through your television, or something to that effect where other people that you might not want have hear me say something that would be disruptive to their age, this is your cue to put it on headphones. Okay, I'm assuming that we're all adults here. I'll probably be talking about things that are going to be boring to a child anyway. So children, anyone under the age of 18 shouldn't be listening to these Twitter spaces, in my opinion. Okay. For the folks that are putting it up on YouTube, again, you have my permission to do this. I don't want this on my own YouTube channel. Just you come up with some kind of a way of splicing up the sections that way the people that want to listen to it. Because I'm going to talk about controlling anxiety and attacking all those things, and that way you can trade without stress. But I'm also going to talk about, in the beginning, uh, all the anxiety and the stress and trading without stress, all those techniques and stuff. That's going to be towards the end of this Twitter space. So at the minimum, you should at least divide it that way. So that way when your listeners are listening to it on your YouTube channel, and again, you're welcome to monetize that. I just don't want you monetizing my lectures, for trading the full things. Don't do that. But here, you're welcome to do that. I don't mind doing it. And I'm teaching this today because I have a lot of questions that have been brought to me about how do you, as a student, how do you overcome these barriers that you have? You may not even realize what they are. How do you discover them? How do you work forward to get through all those things? And then what happens if you can't do it because you are wrestling with some kind of a mental illness? Maybe you're at your wit's end, maybe external stresses, not the market itself, but they're all compounding. And you feel like your world's, constricting, and you just can't focus. You can't do anything right. You feel like impending doom. That's the latter portion of this Twitter space today. Or should we call it X space? I just refuse to call it X. Sorry, Elon. So, I hope you're all doing well. I have I've thought about how I wanted to deliver this kind of conversation. I know some of you like to walk around or exercise or do whatever. And when we do the exercises or talk about the exercise in the latter portion, please don't be using any kind of vehicle. Don't be trying to do it while you're driving, because you'll see they have a physiological response to it immediately, which will be very surprising to some of you. But there's a lot of new students this year, and the 2024 mentorship for Caleb is kind of like hitting on all cylinders right out the gate, because I'm taking right in front of all of the live price action. And I'm explaining things, making you aware of what my focus would be at the time, at that moment, watching price action. Now, as a trader, in the beginning, you don't know what you don't know. And when you discover things that you didn't realize were so important, it's sometimes very easy to discount it. Meaning that you might think to yourself, well, I feel a little anxious because I have too much on the trade, or I just took a loss and I'm already back in the market. And you feel that discomfort, like something's just not right. A new trader that's rushed to go into trading with real money will look at that and say, well, I don't want to be a wimp. Okay, I don't want to be a softie and feel like I'm getting scared or shook out of the marketplace, because if we were all in the locker room of the arena that is trading, and I'm in the boys' room and we're all changing, and they look at me and they ask me, hey, how'd you do today? Were you nervous? You look nervous. You don't want to show any kinds of signs of weakness. No way, I can't do that. So as a new trader that rushes to put money in before they learned how to trade, before they discovered everything that's holding them back and they don't realize it yet, they'll have these little triggers, these little moments where their subconscious starts talking to them about, hey, look, are you sure you want to be right where you're at right now? Are you sure you want to be doing what you're doing? And in the beginning, you're so, especially for the men, you're so keyed up on trying to be impressive to other people instead of simply relaxing and trying to do this for yourself. There's nothing selfish about that. There's zero selfishness. You absolutely need to be self-centered and self-focused in the beginning as a developing student. That is not something that is unchristian. It's not something that's egotistical or narcissistic. You need to put yourself inside of a fortress of solitude. And that fortress of solitude is both a physical location where when you're trading, you're not inviting other people's opinion. When you're studying, you're not inviting other people's opinion. Whoever you're using as a resource, and I'm assuming because you're listening to me, you're tapping into me as that resource. Don't let other authors, teachers, influencers come in, because I'm going to be very, very disruptive to that. The number one reason why I do that is the number one, draw a crowd. It's like starting a fire. People can't turn away from a fire. They can't turn away from a train wreck or a car accident. You really don't take pleasure in seeing bad things happen to other people, but you just can't help it. You got to look. And I have used those things to garner a crowd. Well, you don't want to do that with your own trading. You don't want to do that with your own development, because what you're going to do is you're going to invite other people's opinion. Where when I market myself for free, never paid for it, I invite the opinions of others. And I make it polarizing because it makes other people talk. And there's no faster viral marketing campaign than you can have is if you can make something divisive. That's why pro wrestling, the scripted stuff, that's why it was so popular for so long. It's all scripted, and it's manipulation of the audience. But if I can encourage you as a student to try to remove that stuff from your learning and your studying, to other people that might sound cultish. And I can see that, and I use that, I embrace that, because that perspective eliminates the ability for outside influences to mess you up, because you have to discover who you are. I've had students come to me, go through all the things that I put them through, and they say, you know what? This doesn't suit me. I don't think I should be a trader. And that's maturity. It doesn't mean that the stuff that they were learning doesn't work. It just means that they weren't trading at all. They just can't do it. And why put themselves through it? So I want to kind of like invite that opportunity for all of you, because trading is absolutely not for everyone. There's going to be some things that you're going to encounter while you're trading, while you're learning to trade. When you lose money, you don't know what that feels like until it happens. And all the coping skills that I'm going to teach at the end of this Twitter space may not be enough to get you through it and past it. It might just say, you know what, this doesn't feel right for me. And if it happens to be you that feels that way, you know what? Put it aside for a little while, maybe 6 months. And if you feel the urge to come back to it, maybe not with me, but someone else teaching, if they can prove that they have something that works and they have other people that have learned what it is they taught and they're proving profitability and consistency, there's nothing wrong with going to someone else that teaches you how to do investing or trading or reading price action or whatever you want to call it. But if you can come to me, I encourage rather aggressively that you need to cut all other sources of information off. Because in my group, we're known as very, very confident, pompous, egotistical, narcissistic. These are all descriptive terms, because when my students learn what it is that I teach, that part of my persona rubs off on them, because they can do things that they see other people incapable of doing. when everybody else is out there trying to talk other individuals down, our community talks each other up. That's important. That's a characteristic that nobody likes to spend too much focus on because it counters most of everything that's going to be negative that you're going to encounter as a student of mine. You're going to feel like, wow, man, this is a cult. I don't want anybody thinking bad about me. You're not going to meet these people. You're not going to have dinner with them. You're not going to invite them over to Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas. You're not going to celebrate the New Year, drinking champagne with them at the turn of the New Year. But you're elevating their sense of worth and impact and influence over you through fear. And what are you fearful of? How other people are going to look at you. How other people are going to be able to judge you on the basis of who you learned from, what you believe and don't believe about a market algorithm. They're all talking points. And every side, in every angle, believes that they are the right side. So how can you imagine the impact of frustrating, conflicting input from other people's opinion in the beginning when you first start learning? It causes paralysis. It causes you to feel like, am I wasting my time? Am I wasting my time? My question is did the people you see on YouTube proving that they're being profitable, that the companies that pay them out, that are interviewing them, you think they just gave that money to them for free? I don't have any affiliates with anybody. None. So it serves me and them no direct gain by making it public knowledge that the people that they paid out in their profitable trades are my students. So we have receipts, and there's new individuals coming forward all the time using the same information that you have at your fingertips for free. I have created an environment. You always see these guys advertising. They'll say, this is a no-risk opportunity. But act now, because if you don't do it, there's no telling how long I'm going to keep this for free or have this discount or something to that effect. That's pressure sales. You should feel relaxed. I'm not getting paid here. This is why I'm doing this here too, because I'm not monetized on X or Twitter. I don't have any monetization on there at all. Zero. To be honest with you, I don't even know how to do it if I wanted to do it. And I don't want to do it. I could put this in a G-rated narrative on my YouTube channel and collect ad revenue off of that. But I want to talk to you like a friend. I want to talk to you through the perspective of a father figure because I'm talking to Caleb. Because I want him to understand that these are going to be huge wrestling matches for him. Just like they're going to be for you. And for some of you, you're going to discover that, wow, I went through that and I thought I was losing my mind. I thought I was just being, incapable of learning. No, it's just very hard to do, folks, because you're wrestling yourself. You're competing with an image of yourself that you're holding on to. And unfortunately, in the beginning, it's a self-defeating image. You're holding on to a weak, closed-minded, narrow-minded, scared little child. And I don't mean that to be condescending. You're trying to protect the inner child of yourself from losing money, from being embarrassed. Oh, these people said that they learned from ICT, they're cultists, they're brainwashed, they're whatever. The list is going on and on and on, okay? If you're considering all those things as outside influences, all you have to do is test the stuff I'm teaching for free. All you have to do is sign up to a live stream when I'm doing it and listen to me explain what Price is doing. And then you think to yourself, wow, there's something here. Like I can see this guy knows what he's talking about and the market's behaving as he's describing it. Those are the things you're supposed to be focusing on. The evidence, the proof. Don't let my public antics for my own pleasure, because I love twisting the knife in other people that don't want to believe, or they deep down inside they believe, but they can't compete with us. They can't even compete. It's not even close. But I'm not here to ridicule them. I want them to listen to the same lectures that I'm giving to all of you. And if they can take something away from that helps them, then that's great. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not trying to kick anybody in the face. not trying to put my boot on their neck, strangle their ability to be profitable or climb up as a pillar in the industry. That's not what I'm doing. If you don't guard your fortress of solitude, that means your physical location where you study. That means your family members can't be in the room with you. If you have children, God bless them, they can't be in the room with you. Your spouse, whether being supportive or not, and chances are they're probably not going to be supportive. They don't believe yet in your future self. The things that you have to go through to refine your future self, that future success that you want to have, but you don't really necessarily believe it yet, you got to be convinced of it. And so many times, individuals in the last, 5 or 10 years, they have this TikTok mentality. It has to be shown to you in 10 seconds, 30 seconds or less, or I ain't interested. And this is the part where if you're not willing to put yourself through what it is I'm describing, or if you look at those videos I have up there, 500 and some videos, and you think, man, I ain't got time for 500 videos. How many football games have you watched since you started watching them? How many basketball games have you watched since you started watching them? Has your attendance in the audience, seeing those games live, has that made any impact on you being able to play football or basketball any better? No. So why are you watching it? Why are you paying all that money to support these people who don't know you? They don't care about you. They simply will never spend time with you. And to get them to stop to get an autograph or a snapshot is asking too much many times. But you're willing to put yourself through all that stuff because it gives you what? A feel-good moment. Wow, this is awesome. Because you idolize these people. You idolize them. You lift them up. They're titans. And men want to be a titan. Don't lie. You're smiling right now because you know damn well that's the truth. You want to be a big shot. You want to be a big wheel. Someone everybody looks up to and says, man, I want to be like him. You have to have that same tenacity and driven passion in why you're trying to learn how to trade and put yourself in a fortress of solitude where you're not inviting other people. Don't let them influence it. And from an intellectual stance, your fortress of solitude is your journal. That's where you go to lick your wounds when you don't do something right. But you don't go there and treat it like it's a house of pain, like it's an abusive relationship. And so many of you have shared some of your journal entries to me while talking about a price action move. And while maybe your technical thing might be there and it may be correct and it just didn't work out for that moment or that time or that instance, the negative annotations, the negative things that are spoken about what you're trying to teach yourself, what do you think is more appropriate for that inner child that's inside you right now that you're nurturing that will be your future self? What's more nurturing? If you're constantly beating that inner child down with negative, not encouragement, but punishment. You should have did this better. I should have learned this by now. This stuff never works. I don't know why I can't get this. This is so stupid. I need something easier. If you spoke to your child that way, do you think that child would grow up feeling good about themselves? Or would they have complexes and probably deep-rooted anger and anxiety? And you wonder why you're feeling those things. Because you're feeding it to yourself every day. You don't even realize it. You have no idea how often you give yourself something toxic and negative. And that's why when you watch something positive, you're like, wow, I really enjoyed that moment. Or if you see someone you haven't seen in a long time, an old friend or loved one, that's why holidays, except for Carl, gets invited to the festivities. He wasn't supposed to be there, but some joker invited him. It's bad enough you got to work with him all the time, but now he's showing up at New Year's Eve. It was fun until he showed up. Then you're doing everything you can to avoid him. Well, at the holidays, you feel good. Why? Because your attention's taken off of all the negative things about yourself. And then what do? Yeah, well, I got a raise today. Yeah, last week got a promotion at the job. That's right. I don't know how they're going to do it without me. Whenever I decide to leave the company, oh, they're so screwed. You get to talk about all the good stuff, and you hide all that stuff. That's exactly what proper journaling is. You need to do that. You need to cultivate all the positives. And that's why it feels good to be around your cousin who hasn't left Jiffy Lube. He's been doing that for 12 years. Says he's going to college and never even done prerequisites. Never did anything but get greased. You have to guard yourself. And the processes that you're going to go through is a refinement. And it's painful because it's not immediate gratification. It's not a right now delivery of what you want. It has to be deferred. And for a lot of folks, and it's really hard for young people today. And I understand because they have been socially engineered to expect everything given to them. Everything should be given to you for nothing and no adversity. It should be easy. And you have this entitlement mindset and a short attention span that's been cultivated by TikTok or YouTube shorts that are very small in duration. And you think, man, why is this guy ICT got to be so long-winded? Because I am an old man that learned how to do this the right way. Roll your sleeves up. Put real effort behind it. Keep your nose to the grind and want all the details. You want to know everything. You don't just want to know, well, I want to look like I know what I'm talking about. I want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. And for years, we've watched other people do that with my content. Mitigation here. Here, you see this order block was mitigated. Order blocks don't get mitigated. Mitigation this and mitigation that. They want to talk the lingo. The point of interest. Look at this point of interest. These are all out of my videos, bro. That's all my stuff. The vocabulary of all these individuals out there that have odds against me are going to have odds against you. But they're studying right along with you, like good little scribes. They're just doing it in silence, thinking they're going to get away with it. But as soon as they start talking, the vocabulary exposes them. It's fun, actually. It's a really amazing psychological experiment to go through all of the mentors, and you'll see. You'll see it annotated in their charts, or you'll hear them say it verbally, audibly. They're in the same classroom as you right now. And they may not be here where you can see them because you can do a little anonymous slide. They're all listening anonymously. But I know you're here. And I'm glad that you're here. I'm not trying to poke fun at you. Because you're going to learn things that you can teach my students through you, because they're not your students, they're mine. And I care about them more than you do. And since I know what I'm talking about, I'm going to use you as a conduit to reach them. The worst thing you can do is twist what I'm teaching today, or anything that I teach, and take it out of context or try to embellish it with your own little bullshit. Because you're reducing its purest form, and you're muddying up. This DNA in trading logic is superior. Anything less than this is substandard. We don't have Neanderthal in this, okay? It's always important to start off on the right foot. It's always a bad decision to invite other people's opinion about everything you're involving yourself with in the beginning. We want our friends and our family to encourage us. Why? The same reason why I did as a 20-year-old. I lost my grandfather. I lost that father figure. He wouldn't have lavished me and say, oh, son, you're going to do so good. I can't wait to see. He wouldn't have done that. He's an old man, old Navy man. He would have been like, just do your best. I said, okay, well, I'm going to live up to that. I'm going to live up to that, Pop. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do everything I can to make this man acknowledge that I have impressed him. So when it was taken from me when he died of cancer, I had a void. And I've carried it in my entire life. At 52 years old, I still can't fill that void. And God fills it a lot. But there's still this little itch that I can't satisfy because I can't see his face. Look at me. And you have that same experience when you first start to do something that's monumental. Feet. You want to accomplish something. You want to lose weight. You want to get in better shape. And what do? We turn to our spouse, our significant other, our friends, and our family members. Yeah, I think I'm going to start this program. Oh, you don't bother, man. Don't waste your time. That's the first thing that's coming out of their mouth. And if they're not spurting it out, they're thinking it. Because you can watch it in their face. They're thinking, yeah, we'll see. we're going to see, buddy. We're going to see. But that's not what you want. You don't want that. You want them to say, you know what? That is awesome. You know what? Could you tell me a little bit about that? Because I would like to do that too. That's the response you're looking for. That's the response. You want people to get excited about what you're interested in, but you're not excited about it, but you absolutely fucking gotta be excited. Like you gotta love it. You gotta look at yourself and say, you know what? Right now I don't have it. I don't have it right now, but damn it, I'm gonna get it. And every one of you yahoos that I'm related to has nothing to do with holding me back. You're all going to watch it happen. You're all going to choke on it. All of you that sat back and sit there and said, well, you know, Shelly said she's going to be a trader. Yeah, she's going to be trading, all right. Trading her time for money like we do. But in the beginning, that stuff cuts deep. It cuts deep. But you'll put on your best face like I was trying to do it as a 20-year-old. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. But it crushed me inside. It crushed me. And I didn't take that as I'm going to do it more carefully to make sure I don't fail. The opposite happened. The opposite happened. I dug deep and said, I don't give a shit how many times I fall on my face. I'm going to do it faster, and I'm going to take bigger risks, and I'm going to do it in a stunning manner that absolutely has nothing to do with why I started, because now I got to do it about impressing these people. I got to impress my family, who they weren't even a factor in the beginning. They didn't tell me to, hey, start trading this way. And then I got to make them proud of me. That's not how it happened. My uncle introduced the idea of trading, but he didn't teach me trading because he didn't know how to trade. And I wasn't interested the first time. I was young. I was a martial artist. I was a young teenager. I was like, man, I ain't got time for this. I got martial arts and girls. You gotta hear what that, man. Stock market. I ain't trying to invest. What the hell's that? And to be honest with you, I really wasn't working then. So the concept of money was alien to me. I was actually very content and complacent being white trash, because that's exactly how I was raised. If you look at how I live today and how I raised my family and how I was raised, I was the epitome of white trash. I grew up in a neighborhood that was trash with people that were uneducated. The highest graduating average mean was sixth grade. My mother quit school in sixth grade. The only person in my family prior to me that were blood relatives that ever graduated was my aunt. Think about that. That's the pedigree I come from. Yeah. I'm as blue collar as you can get, baby. And I have the same problems that you're going to invite. If you're not careful, you're going to invite all of the opinions of other people that don't fucking matter. You're leaning on these people to encourage you. They didn't give you the idea. They didn't give you the first spark. The whole point of you even considering it, it never stemmed from them. So why on earth would you invite them to give you their opinion when they're working for money, in debt, paycheck to paycheck, hating fucking life, and looking for any exit ramp to get out of the relationship because they hate the person they're married to or living with? And these are the people you're going to on social media too. The worst part is you're not even fucking related to these people. You're not even related to them. You willfully go in there and say, hey, what do you think about this? Who gives a fuck what they think? Who gives a fuck what these people that don't do well or better than you? Who gives a shit what they think? And when you take a step back and you think about it like this, you know what? Why the hell am I doing that? Right, that's the question I'm asking. Why are all of you doing that? Because you're hoping, just like I did as a 20-year-old, that everything I was putting myself through or aspiring to be successful in, that my own family, you would think, right? My own family would be like, you know what, Michael, out of everybody in our family, if anybody was ever going to do well in this, it's you, buddy. I can see you doing it. Like, I can literally see you up there doing everything you're claiming you're going to learn how to be able to do. I can see that. That's exciting. Can I learn that too? That's what I wanted to hear. If I would have heard that, I probably would have done so much better in the beginning. I wouldn't have taken ridiculous fucking risks and blew my accounts because I'm trying to show them they're wrong. And the only thing I was doing was proving they were right. Think about it. You're doing the same stuff. Mostly the men. Women might be closeted because they still want to talk to their girlfriends. They want to talk to their closest cousin. Okay? Like my wife, she has a cousin. They say that they were like twins when they were younger. I don't see it because I would have never messed around with the other girl. But that's another discussion another time. But she pals around with her and has conversation more than anybody else in the family. Okay? And women tend to have a very close, they may have a lot of girlfriends, but they have this little clique. That's their pride. Okay? And if you are trying to learn how to trade, or if you just discovered that that's what you want to try to pursue, or maybe you've been doing it, chances are they know what you're trying to do or what you've begun. And anybody else, you don't share your business with them. You keep it personal. You still messed up. You still messed up. Because now, one of two things are going to happen. One, they're going to ask you, hey, how's that trading going? And you want to be able to say, girlfriend, let me just tell you, I got funded. I got paid out 6 fucking times. I got these new shoes. Look at this shit. Earl didn't buy these motherfuckers. I did. I bought that shit. I bought that. I passed my fund account channel. Bang. 5 accounts linked up. Bang. Look at me, baby. Look at me. Don't you want to be like this? You want to be able to say that. But you're still going through the process of wrestling through the things that you wrestle through. You believe that that day's coming, but you can't give it to them when they ask for a progress report. And that hurts. That hurts because you want to be able to say to your girlfriends, this is what I've done so far. And a true friend, girlfriends, will be like, damn, girl. Wow, I didn't think you'd be that quick with it. But a true friend would hear you say, it's harder than I thought it was going to be, but I'm not discouraged. I see progress. And I know if I keep working at it, I'm going to get what I'm looking for. And a true friend will be like, you know what? That's right, girl. You keep on. And that's what you want to hear. If you have a friend like that, man, you got a real friend. I didn't have friends like that. I had, man, I'll believe when I see it. My wife, still living the way she lives. If I tell her I'm going to do this, and she's like, I'll believe when I see it. I'm like, woman, are you crazy? Did you just see what I just did? Look what you just spent. Where the hell that come from, right? But I'm sure she means it to be funny and silly all the time, but that's just that's the way we work together. Okay, that's our language with one another. She ribs me and I peacock around. But you're not going to get that encouragement you're looking for on social media. I promise you. You might get it in our community here if you hang around like-minded individuals, which is always called a cult. Okay, call it a cult because this is the cult of winning. I make winners. Now, everyone coming into this cult of winning isn't going to make it to be a winner because they're going to tap out. They're going to feel these struggles, these wrestling matches internally. They're going to feel it and be like, man, this isn't worth this, man. I thought it was going to be easy and fast. I can't get time for this. What's my boys doing right now? Let's go. We got to go to the club. I need to get drunk. I need to get blazed up. What are you doing? You're medicating. You're self-medicating. That's exactly what you do in your journal. It's self-love there. You tell yourself all the time, encourage yourself. You write down in those journal entries everything that you want someone else that you love or care about the opinion of. You want them to say those things. You're waiting for it. You're listening. You just know that those words are hanging on their tongue and they're going to say it. Well done. Good job. Wow, I'm impressed by that. That's what you want. You want to talk that talk in your journal. You want to be so positive that it's fucking ooey gooey love. Okay, that's what you want. Because nothing negative will have any impact, and you don't even write anything negative. You encourage yourself constantly, all the time. That journal needs to be something beyond the scope of a Mead spiral notebook. It needs to be something that you have worth and value associated with. That's why my journals, they're anywhere between $80 to $100 a piece. Now, you might not have the money to be able to do that right now, but that's okay. But you need to think about what you're writing in. That's not some scrapbook where people just jot down things like, okay, well, I got to remember to do this and do that. Or where your kid can pick it up every now and then and draw and scribble on. What do you do? How do you keep your journal? Where do you keep it at? Do you have any regard for what you're writing down? Because if they're not treasures to you, if you're not making monuments to your progress, and it sounds narcissistic when we talk like that, doesn't it? To someone that doesn't journal, I don't journal. That's a fucking clown talking like that. That's somebody that is literally planning to fail or never being successful. And there's a lot of people in this industry that are idiots, and they're monetized and they're rewarded, but not for the basis of the ability to trade. They're monetized and rewarded for capturing and holding your attention to their bullshit. What are they producing? What fruit are they producing? Who's coming behind them, listening to their logic and saying, well, that worked for me. Look at me. I don't work anymore. I did what this goober is saying. It's very little of that going on. Very little of that. Here, we have those receipts. We have those people. We have them both in female and in male. We have them in older people and younger people. We have them in teenagers that haven't even got to 21 yet. And we have people in their 60s reporting that they're so thankful that they were given this opportunity. And it's a tearjerker for me when I hear things like that, because I look around and it's expensive as a fuck right now. It's so expensive. And I got lots of money, and I still look at this grocery bill and I'm like, how the hell are people making it? Like, how are you all doing it? Leave comments if you feel open to do so. It's a struggle. And until you decide to make changes and refine your future self, you got to filter out all the negative stuff. That doesn't mean you can't acknowledge, like I just did here, saying, man, it's expensive. Acknowledge that. That needs to inspire your willingness to stick to it, because you think it's just going to get cheaper. Do you honestly think things are going to be cheaper 2 years from now? No, they're not. When has ever been a time where inflation has impacted the things that we buy? And it causes shrinkflation, and the amount of the product reduced in size, but they sell it for the same or if not more money. When has that ever happened? I remember as a kid, candy bars used to be 3 times the size that they're at. Not now. I never imagined looking at the things I spent money on, and people spend the majority of their money on junk food. Like, that's stupid waste of money. Are you doing those things too? Are you buying poor substances and calling it and lying to yourself and saying it's food? You're going to have a physiological response to the things you take in and ingest. If you're eating junk food and fast food all the time, you're drinking caffeinated drinks. I don't need a caffeine drink. I can be hopped up in a minute, just like that. I can talk myself up, bang, real high. But as you'll learn later in this Twitter space, you'll be able to talk yourself down like a Buddhist monk. Come down cold, cool, collected in minutes. And that's how you have to operate. You have to look at things in a manner where everything outside of you has no impact or influence over you. But are you doing the opposite right now? Have you been doing the opposite of that? Have you been using social media as a drug dealer, looking for that feel-good buzz from ICT? Because if that's what you're doing it wrong. Yeah, you heard that right. You're doing it wrong. Social media is a cancer. And the worst thing you can do is live on it. Elevating people to celebrity status, godlike personas. They want worship. And some of you want to worship. Some of you all want to be worshipers. Why? Why would you do that? There's only one deserving of that. And it ain't me. And it ain't nobody else on social media either. So how do you discover what your problems are? Well, what do you focus on all day long? And how do you act when you're in stressful, pressure situations? If you find yourself in a stressful situation, that need not be in trading, and you react in a manner that is aggressive, in anger and outburst, chances are you're a very impulsive person. That means given the opportunity to invest or trade with money, whether it be funded account, demo account, whatever, you're going to impulsively do something. Because inside you are a conquering warrior. That's how you internalize yourself. You see yourself as someone going out there like a gladiator. You challenging me? Bro, you challenging me? Step! That's the typical male response. Admittedly, that's how I am. I was not that way when I was a young man. Growing up, I had to hold that at bay because I knew if I let it out one time, it would just go wild. And it did for a little while. And I did things I'm not proud of. But what happens if you're in a stressful situation and you clam up? You paralyze yourself. You're like, I don't want to do anything. And you break down. You may cry. You may have anxiety. You may freeze up and lock up and just completely shut down. In trading, that's going to be someone that never takes the step forward. You'll never trade. And you have to have a comfort of saying, you know what? The outcome might not be what I want it to be. Every trade starts that way. And you have to invite the opportunity for that to be wrong. Hear what I just said there? Whereas everyone that puts a trade on now, they want, I hope it works. But I'm afraid it's probably going to stop me out. Man, and listen to the YouTubers that live stream. Listen closely. And the ones that show their face, I'm so thankful for because they're wonderful case studies for you. Watch their whole demeanor change as the market spends more time close to their entry point. See, my trades, what I'm teaching you to do is you're going to be entering in the market where the market leaves your entry soon. It doesn't spend time around it a lot. And the surest thing you can do in the beginning while you're learning how to trade and reading the tape is notice that when you think, okay, the market should go up or should it go down here. If it doesn't immediately start to respond that way, chances are you're probably wrong. Would you have the willingness to kill that trade, eat the commission cost and whatever underneath the spread or any small little drawdown? Would you be willing to take that? Or are you the person that's going to say, even if I'm wrong, I'd still like to be able to get my stop to break even? You're worried about money. You're worried about not losing money. You're worried about being perfect. You're worried about never taking a loss. And that is going to invite the very thing happening. You don't understand that right now. Hearing it sounds like that can't be true. But that's exactly what it is. If you're afraid to make money because you're afraid of losing money, you're never going to make it as a trader. Because every trade that you open up is a losing trade that you have to trade your way out of. You're underneath the commission cost as soon as you put the trade in. Boom, you have whatever that cost is, the spread. You have to overcome that if you're trading in the Forex market. Commission costs with your broker. And then it's got to climb up enough to cover those costs? And how much does it need to do that before you can put your stock to break even? And just because it's going to break even, just static price action and redelivery is going to stop you out if you try to chase too fast, or the stop loss is too tight. Unless you know things, the things I'm teaching for free. So when you're journaling and you're observing old price moves, or maybe it's something you watch in a live stream, and you see me discussing something, and maybe you're at odds with, okay, he just said he thinks it's going to do this. Okay, maybe everything I'm saying in live streams, you're saying, I don't think that's going to happen. What does that indicate to you? Well, I can tell you what you're really trying to do is you're looking for an opportunity to go on social media and say, look, I guarantee you, there's thousands of people out there. They're all young men, little kids. They're all, or service sellers and course sellers. They're out there with their little demo accounts and they're trying to do the opposite so they can go on social media. Look, ICT said this and look, here's the trade I just took. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. But if you're not doing that for that purpose there, just to get clout online, what are you doing it for? Why do you feel that? Everything I'm saying in a live stream that most of the time is coming true, but why are you doubting it? Is that you being unteachable? No. I had a student of mine that was always trading against me, named Troy. I ain't gonna say his last name, but he knows if he's listening. Everything I taught, he was doing the opposite of. And then he would send me emails, he would complain and say, I don't know why it's not working, I'm pissed off. He used to be a poker player, did real well doing that. And he thought that it would be easy to walk right into trading. And I tried to explain to him, I said, listen, your superpower is that you're contrarian. There's a place for contrarians in trading. That's turtle soup trades, false breakouts, not trend following. So if you go into the marketplace looking for things like that as your opportunity, that's your model, that's your whole structure and approach to attacking price action as a man, because you're a gladiator. You see what I just did there? I maxed up personality, school of thought, the way they internalize things, and the thing that is a weakness, I turned it into a strength. That's a mentor. That's someone that knows what the fuck they're talking about and creates winners. That's someone that has done this many, many times and has failed. And those failures did not hold me down. I learned from them. And you're all out there trying to learn from these 20-year-olds that are just parroting what I'm saying. And they don't have the life experience with it. They have never made serious money. They've never lost serious money. They never went through the problems of finding it. I'm going to dig in deep. I'm going through a period where everything isn't working and I need to figure out what I'm supposed to do with no other encouragement. Right now, there's social media. You look around, you'll find someone to blow smoke up your ass. You will. You'll find it. But if you're not fixing the root causes, these triggering things that you keep repeating, that you don't identify are problematic issues, I call them character flaws. I have them. As a teacher, as a mentor, it would be foolish for me to tell you, I don't have any problems, I don't have any issues. Of fucking course I do. I'm human. I'm absolutely human. I wish I would have held on to the trades longer. I wish I would have had more on. I wish I would have cut off more of the trade before it turned around on me. Come on. I got no problem telling you those things. That's the reality of it. But I also know when to dial in when this shit's going to be good. A la Friday the 13th. That seems like it was a pretty fucking lucky day around here, wasn't it? Cookout was amazing. I can't wait for another one. Invite me again. Yeah, how about that? But you have to go through the process of seeing how you feel when you're watching price action. Do you turn it into a love story? Like, oh man, this is perfect. This is love at first sight. This fair value gap, I saw it. I walked in, there it was. The euro dollar sitting right there in the New York Hill Zone. She was fine. Look at that. Girl, turn around. Let me see what you got in the back. Oh my goodness. I'm in there. Tap. You're in that fair value gap. It's starting to run. You covered the dealing spread. Your stop loss. You're tucking up behind there a little bit behind that fair value gap low. And you're like, man, it's a romance now. It's going to run up there to my TP. I can't stand when people say TP. You know, I hear TP, I think toilet paper. And I guess it's not far stretched because most of these fucking people out there that are trying to teach people how to trade, their fucking trades are trash. They're shit. So TP makes fucking perfect sense. It's a take profit or that's your target. TP. TP. Like you can't say the fucking word TP. That's the equivalent of somebody on the fucking road that can't even flick their little turn signal. It's right there next to your fucking hand, you lazy ass. Just click it. Let everybody know what the hell you're doing. Protect the car you're driving. Protect your personal property. And there are other people's personal property. I'm like a dog. I see a squirrel. What? Squirrel. It's easy for me to come off of. These are all the things I usually delete out of a pre-recorded lecture. But here, you get all the fun carnival atmosphere. But how do you feel when you're watching price action? Are you at odds with the final boss? You're in a video game and it's like, I only got one life left. This is it. I'm on it. And I got to win this one or it's game over. I have to reset. You're putting too much emphasis on the outcome. So you need to observe what you're trying to talk yourself away from that's toxic when you're journaling. Don't record them with the toxicity. What do I mean by that? If you're watching price action, you're not demoing, you're not doing funded account challenges, you're not trading with a funded account, you're not trading with a little bit of money because I got to learn how to real money. We're going to talk about that again. You're just simply watching the tape. You're watching price action fluctuate, and you're trying to get a feel for what makes you feel like the market's going to behave a certain way. And you record that. At what minute marker do you see that happen? And describe what it is. If you don't have the ability to just, shorthand it, in other words, a couple keywords that it's going to help you remember what you were feeling at that time, record yourself audibly. At this minute marker right here, I'm watching pound dollar. At this minute marker right now, I'm watching crude oil. At this minute marker right now, I'm watching S&P. I'm watching NASDAQ. And I see this right now and what I expect to see based on my current understanding. I believe that the market's going to behave this way. It's going to go to this buy side or it's going to go to this sell side. And it should not go below this low or above this high before it does that. That's what I believe. And then at that moment, you say how confident. Describe your confidence in that happening. Even if you don't feel extremely confident about it, just say, I got a hunch that it's probably going to do this, but I'm not all that convinced yet. You need to be aware of that. At the end of that experiment, that study, which I'm going to put you through this week, I'm going to outline how you can go in and do drills over and over and over all day long. All day long you can do these things. And you're going to see how to find the right fair value gap because you're going to test every single one of them with me. We're going to be out here. You're invited to have a demo account this week because we're all going to be pushing buttons. I want you to see what it feels like, okay? I want you to see what it feels like to be in something that has a measurement applied to it. Does this work? Does this not work? How fast does it fail? How fast does it work? What do you feel when I promote these certain situations? I'm going to say, look at this. We're going to do this right here. We're going to buy this right here. We're going to sell this right here. Listen to me, and I'm going to say it again in the live streams, ad nauseum, okay? Do not use it as a signal service. Do not take your funded account challenge or your funded account or your live account and follow these as entries. I am not telling you to do that. Caleb is watching this. You're all watching this. I'm teaching how you get comfortable with not needing to be right. And how, by contrast, like I was describing yesterday in live stream, when there's liquid fluidity in price action where it just moves around real nice and it creates these imbalances and it reaches sweeping up to buy side and down the sell side, that's a trader's market. That is a market that you can just go in there. You don't need to have a bias. You don't need a bias in that because it's moving around so nicely. You can get 10, 15, 20, 30 handles and be opposed to if I was being held at gunpoint. Hey, ICT, is this going to be up close day or down close day? Up close day. Okay. you're thinking you only want to be a buyer for the rest of your career in that because ICT said it's going to be up close day. I have proven many, many times that you could be a short seller in a day that I'm primarily bullish in. But see, in the beginning, it's fruitful for you to only focus on the side that a higher time frame bias indicates that it's likely to keep moving in one direction, higher or lower. So if you filter out everything that would be impulsive for you to take a trade on, and it may be going against that higher time bias, it filters out the likelihood, not that all of them would fail, but chances are as a new student trying to do something with money that you can't afford to lose, trying to spend money on funded account challenges that you can't afford to spend yet, not getting the results that you're hoping for, and then that compounds and builds up inside of you. And then you have to wrestle through that like weeds and thorn bushes because the destination you have in front of you of successful trading and consistently profitable, it gets barriers placed in front of it. Thorn bushes, snares, all these booby traps. You're laying that in front because the last time you did this, you got hurt. So you're not getting closer to your objective and your destiny. You're creating barriers because you're doing all the wrong things, not realizing that that's causing an impediment to your progress. Because you think you're going to do something to circumvent the need to go through all the things that are required for you to do it correctly. It's better to do the things I'm telling you to do and avoid the things I tell you to avoid because you won't have to second guess and think about, did I do it the right way? You'll have very little to go back on once you get there and say, you know what, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Contrast that with, well, I listened to Swaggy. He said go out there and start with real money because I have to learn with real money. That's foolish knowledge. That's not even knowledge. That's misinformation. If you take something from other influencers, and he ain't the only one that's ever said that, but I take odds at that because when you monetize your right or wrong in the beginning, because you elevate every transaction, every idea on the basis of right or wrong, I'm not promoting the idea that you need to worry about being right and wrong. These jokers that try to say that stuff, they're literally twisting everything I've ever taught. You don't need to be right. It's not about being right. It's about being profitable. But they'll take my words, twist around, and act like they come up with something. You remove the necessity about being right. If you remove that, that means there's no emotional tie to it. You have no psychological arm wrestling match now to prove to yourself or anyone else that you're right. You don't need to be right. But you won't identify what those triggering things are inside you that are intrusive thoughts that become materialized and manifested into losing money. And you will not, I guarantee you, you will not, if you do those things and you lose money, you're going to fault me, you're going to fault everybody else you followed in a Discord room or that Telegram channel or that YouTube guy or that person live streaming. I lost all my money. Listen to your ass. And they're going to fault find and they're going to push all the responsibility off themselves. I've seen this happen. I've seen it. But the question is what do you do with all the hundreds of thousands of people that are making money with it? They learned the same thing. What are they doing differently? What did you do? And every time I've asked, they always either exposed themselves of this, they didn't do the right work. They were not using the things they were taught. Are you teachable? Are you willing to listen? You're here today listening to this. And your mind is the first tool that's responsible for you to make the right steps going forward. And if you allow it to be clouded with fear, anxiety, premature self-worth to high levels of I want to be respected and almost borderline worshipped online, you're doing it wrong. And you need to fix that. You got to do some house cleaning. But when you're journaling, you need to discover what that root catalyst was that caused you the uncertainty about an idea when you were watching price. Or what gave you superhuman level confidence. What was those triggering factors? And if it's a negative, you have to say, for instance, let's say like this. Say you're watching a NASDAQ and you're tape reading and you're doing the drills that I'm going to teach you guys this week. And you get into one and you don't really feel confident that it's going to behave like you would like to see it behave, but you still do the exercise and you press the demo and you want to watch how long it takes you to get stopped out or run to the target. But as soon as you press the button, you feel regret. Like I should have waited. What that's going to do is, number one, you're doing it with a demo. But if you feel that, and it may only happen for a second internally, what that's highlighting is, even on a demo where nobody else can see it, you feel the pressure of having it correct. Now you have an opportunity. So many times you're hiding that stuff, the things that you have to sweep up and clean up in your head, all these intrusive thoughts, all these hindering spirits that are keeping you from finding the success you're looking for. You're letting them live with you. You're making the bed for them. You're feeding them constantly, 3 meals in a cup every single day. You're feeding these intrusive thoughts, these demons. They're going to hold you back. You're allowing them to live rent-free in your life, consuming all of your productivity, all of your progress. It's stealing your future success. Like a vampire, it's sucking the life marrow out of you. You don't even realize it. But when you journal, it puts a microscope right over top of that. And you're in that fortress of solitude. You're not going to talk about these things with me. You're not going to talk about it with the people online. It's safe. It's safe for you to do this. It's a controlled environment. Nothing bad can happen. It's only upside. It's only upside doing these things. And it makes you better as a person. It will make you better as a trader. And it'll help you wrestle fear of missing out, greed, over trading, over leveraging. All those things are corrected with a journal. And you wonder why these same influencers online have to keep resetting their funded account challenges, and they keep blowing up. They're dancing around, carrying on entertaining you, but they keep blowing up. And you ask them, do you journal? No. Come on, man. And then you're wondering why they're constantly having to publicly reset. They got to constantly keep doing that. And if they just would listen, put their pride aside and just listen, because this is good medicine, folks. This is good medicine. No one successful in trading falls into it by accident. It's an earned skill set. And it will not ever be easy for anyone. Even if you listen to everything I'm telling you to do, which in my opinion is the correct way of doing it. Not because it's mine, because it's rooted in pure psychology. Sound logic. When you remove the sugary sweet, I got to do it fast, and you already owe it to me last week, and you better give it to me in a 5-minute video, or I'm not interested. I'm not going to follow you, ICT. If you have the time to sit down and write that, like, you owe us this, you owe us that, or I'm not going to, don't follow me. I'm not going to change my lifestyle because you didn't follow me or don't support me or like me. I don't give a shit about that. None of you people matter that much to me. Okay, that's the truth. None of you matter that much to me. But why waste the opportunity when someone like myself is willing to teach you for free, and when I've done it with other people, and the things that they do are all linked to the things I'm telling you here today. You have to journal. Don't hide from your character flaws. You do it in your journal, discover what they are, and you find that by how you feel. When you're doing these exercises, do you feel like, okay, I'm going to make this is what he told me I should reach for, and I target that, but I'm going to do this. What's that tell you? You're trying to stretch the boundaries because you're competitive. You're fucking competitive, right? Okay. You want to race Bolt with a fucking leg cast on? Because that's exactly what you're trying to say you're going to do. Yeah, I'm going to run this faster than a guy that's done world records. So you have a superiority complex, which is what most of the influencers online have against me. They don't like that. They don't like the fact that I can do this all the time, every single day. They don't like it because it casts a very large shadow on them. I'm talking to them here too. I'm not talking down to them. I'm talking to them as a peer. Hey, you're in the same industry I am. I'm not a giant. I'm not I'm not somebody that should be worshipped or looked up to. I don't like when people do that to me. But these people want that. If they listen to me like I'm trying to teach you to do it, they will be better traders, better mentors, and they will be pillars in the industry that deserve recognition. Because right now, they don't deserve it. They don't. All of them have the capability of getting there. And some of you probably aspire to be like that. Listen to me, because you'll do it far better. You'll do it without drama marketing, because that shit doesn't work. That never works. It just casts a viewpoint that's easily fostered in a large degree of the attendance of onlookers, and they'll immediately make their decision right away. Oh, this guy's, he's a lot of drama. Or this woman's got too much shit going on. And you'll never have your voice heard. So when you're developing yourself, you have to take that time and that energy and consider yourself worth it. A lot of you think, well, I ain't got time for journaling. What you're saying is you're not fucking worth the time and the investment in identifying how you can improve yourself and put yourself on the highest degree of performance. That's really what you're saying when you say, I do not want to journal. I don't want to do that. I don't want to put a progress of measuring my progress in black and white in front of me where I can look at where my progress started and where I'm at today. That's how you know you can do it, because you see the things that you're learning. See, if you don't write it down, you're going to forget it. If you don't write it down, you're never going to remember it and revisit it. If someone, after you were long gone, finds your journal, are they going to read the diary of a madman that was so abusive to themselves? Or, wow, this person was very encouraging to themselves. And I can see that they have identified their progress. See, you all want to see trade statistics. Bro, show me your MyFX book. Bro, show me that you got on the leaderboard on the funded account challenge or whatever it is. I can't think of that. I don't know how they work, but I know TopStat has a leaderboard. I don't know if the other companies do. Get on the Robbins Cup or we don't believe you. Okay? This is a litmus test for idiots. It is. It really is. Because what you're saying is you have to see somebody else show you something. And let's be honest. If everything's shown to that type of person, they're still not going to do anything. They're just going to be mad and huff and puff and just go and try to troll somebody else. So it's not that they want to be inspired to learn how to do what you're learning how to do. They're just in here to try to find some kind of talking point. But you do very similar things in the beginning if you're not guarded. You want the opinions of others to support you and encourage you. Why should anybody that's not a part of this community think now? If they're not already a part of this group here, why would you expect them to encourage you? That's insanity. You're asking someone on the outside to have the same perspective or a higher opinion of what you're trying to do and learn than you do yourself. And then you're weighing the delivery of that opinion being favorable for you as a basis for you to continue. Going up to a blind man and say, hey, which flower here is prettier? Is it this one here in my right hand, or which one is it? Is it the left hand or the right hand? Which one's prettier? How the fuck does he know? And that's exactly what you're doing with everybody else. You're saying, hey, look, what do you think? The only thing they got to go on is everybody else's opinion. And if it's a positive, you're a cultist. You're all brainwashed. You're not seeing me call price. You're not seeing me execute. You're not seeing those things. You're not seeing other students making real money with it. You're not seeing that. They ignore that. So how can you take their opinion as balanced? But you're still asking the ether. You're tossing it out there on social media. Hey, what do you think about ICT's concept of this and that and the other thing? If they're a little dick energy guy, they're going to say, oh yeah, he lifted. I had a guy this morning. 90% of everything ICT teaches, he got it from somebody else. We're still waiting. We're still waiting for somebody to come out and say, here's exactly where ICT got order blocks from, and the mean threshold, and institutional order flow entry drill, and all the things I teach. It's a long list of shit. It never happens. But because they know that your mentality is wrapped around this 30-second TikTok duration. You have short attention spans. You're wondering why people are stupid today? It's because they've stopped teaching. It's all about feelings. It's about having experiences online. We don't have conversations anymore. You don't sit down and write with a pen and pad a letter or sit down and type out a letter. It's throw it to me in a text, throw it to me in a post on social media, and hey, you're my buddy, you're my friend. That's bullshit. When I talk to you, I care about the audience that's I'm targeting. I'm talking to my children. That's why you listen to me, because you feel this sense of urgency for me to communicate this importance. Because the audience is my own flesh and blood. So I'm not going to shortchange them. I don't give a fuck if Tom, Dick, and Harry's fucking mentorship guy out there says he talks too much. He could have did this and did that. These people that do these 5-minute trainers, they're not doing shit. They're wasting your time, because the only thing they're doing is creating these very barriers that you don't realize are going to be appearing in front of you. You want it to happen for you fast. Well, guess what happens? When you try to do it and it doesn't happen fast for you, what do you think? Man, I can't do this. When I'm telling you, expect it going in, it's going to be hard. When you come into this, you're all dirt. You're just dirty. You don't have anything that shines. Nothing. You have a desire, but you're still just dirt. There's nothing that shines about you as a trader. But you have to refine that. Go through a process and change that. And then you can mold that. Apply a little bit of sweat. What's that? That's moisture. And you can now take that dirt and shape it into something. Mold it like pottery. And you shape that future self after constantly refining it. And it doesn't happen overnight. And I've never said it's going to be a fast process. I said it's going to be a lot of work. Not because it's hard to learn these things. The concepts are straightforward. As I was talking about yesterday on the live stream in the last hour of trading. The people that say it's complicated or I complicate trading, it's not. I actually have created more opportunities to trade. But in the hands of someone that wants to be self-defeating or self-destructive, those tendencies that are inside you that you haven't identified and wrestled them into submission and subduing them, those demons that are in you, if you don't have a way of subduing them, if you weaponize them where they can hurt you financially, they're going to jump on that opportunity every single time. And they're going to leave you demoralized, regretful, and eventually it's going to beat you down and you're going to be in depression. And depression is a physical feeling. It's something, it's not just, I don't feel good about myself, psychologically or emotionally. No, you feel depression. It's painful. And if you live in it long enough, it affects your health. You develop anxiety. You develop all these physical symptoms that you think that are emergencies when they're not. They're just physiological responses to things that our body has been created to give us. Sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. Everybody's equipped with this. But the way you regulate these two nervous systems that's in everybody's body, the anatomic nervous system is, everybody has it. We don't think about breathing. It just happens, right? Have you ever had a moment, my wife said this to me about a month ago. She goes, I'm not sure how to describe this to you, but I feel like I forgot how to breathe. Because I've had anxiety before, I have perfect understanding of what she means. And maybe that probably struck a chord with some of you that are listening, where all of a sudden you think to yourself, I got to breathe more. I have to breathe faster and I have to breathe deeper. Nothing has changed. There's no immediate threat in the room with you. No one has jump scared you. No one's come out and tried to grab you and pull you into a van, teach you how to trade. These whole things of spontaneous anxiety, they may start off mildly like feeling like I can't catch my breath. Something's going on. If I don't consciously think about breathing, I feel like I'm going to stop. And what happens if I stop breathing? I'm probably going to die. And if this happens right before you go to sleep, guess what you're not doing? Sleep. So if you have problems with sleep, I don't have problems with sleep. Okay, when I talk about my sleep schedule, I have doctors tell me, you need to have 8 hours of sleep. Bullshit. Bullshit. You don't need 8 hours of sleep. When I was a working man, I needed 9 hours of sleep. I needed that because I was already keyed up as an individual. That's why I don't drink caffeine. I don't drink coffee. As a trader, if you don't have a complete mastery of yourself and you're drinking stimulants like coffee because it has caffeine in it, what you're doing is you're literally pouring gas on a fire. And if you're not careful, you will cause yourself health problems later on that you really don't want. There's a right way to do this, folks. And you can live in a very balanced state. And you hear me talk and I sound imbalanced now because I want to maintain your attention. That's what this is. It's all about making sure that you don't fall asleep. Because it's real easy to fall asleep listening to me because it's not about making money right now. But it is about making money. You can't make money consistently until you master yourself. Until you subdue these intrusive thoughts, until you subdue these demons that you're wrestling with that you have made house guests. You turn a blind eye, oh yeah, it's fucking Joe. He doesn't have a job. Always sits around, plays fucking Xbox all day long, eats up everything, doesn't buy anything, never takes a fucking bath. He stinks the whole house all up. But, he's now part of the furniture here. He's a staple here in the house. So I don't like to interact with them, but I know they're there. I can't do anything to get him out. I don't want to kick him out. He's a loved one. He's a family member. That's what you've done with these demons, these things that you hold on to. You guard them. You protect them. Instead of saying, get the fuck out of here, you don't belong here. You have no more business here. You're not holding me back no more. You're not a problem for me anymore. Get the fuck out. Replace it with something positive. I'm scared to take a trade. Why? Why are you afraid to take a trade? Because you have no model. You don't have a model because you had this demon constantly telling you that's not going to work. Don't even bother putting any time into this. You're going to sit here and look back and I wasted 3 months if you get that far into it. And you're going to half-ass it when you say you're journaling. You're going to scribble a couple fucking words, draw a little diagram of something, draw, swing high or swing low, and draw a line there and say, that's an order block. Look, I did the journal. Look at this. This guy's a liar. Bro, I have people that have showed their journals to me, and they're like the Encyclopedia Britannica. It's volumes of shit. That's somebody that's going to do so much in the industry. It's crazy. Like, that's exactly the high end of what I'm encouraging from all of you. You don't need to be that far with it. But you have to record your progress. You have to record that. Otherwise, how can you reasonably comfort yourself when you feel like you want to quit? What do you have to hang your hat on when you feel like you don't want to do it anymore because you had a week of drawdown? What happens when you blow your account? What happens when you lose your funded account? What happens when you can't pass that funded account challenge and you don't have the money to spend on it again until the next paycheck? And then you got to wait. And you're thinking to yourself, maybe if I don't pay Netflix, maybe if I get rid of this and I get rid of that. Well, that's probably a good thing if you did that because watching TV is bullshit. I don't watch TV. I have old shows on Blu-ray. If I want to watch a movie, chances are it's probably something old because they don't have all that woke bullshit in it. But I watch very little of any entertainment stuff. I watched the Deadpool movie in the theater with my sons, and that was it. That's the most recent thing. I don't like to go to theaters anymore. To me, it's a terrible waste. I have a theater in my house. I don't need to go there and sit in something that's dirty. Be around people on their cell phones and talking bullshit. I can do all that stuff in my own house. I have a nicer theater in my home. If you don't have the progress report that you have encouraged yourself along the way and acknowledging where what you're learning didn't work in your hands that day, and then you say, I'm glad I had the opportunity to see this fail. Because now I can go in and discover more about what it is I didn't know at the time when I took this idea. You see that? Is that something that you as a child, if you watch your child try to do something, try to learn how to ride a bike, you took the training wheels off, you've been walking with them holding the seat, and now you want to let go, and you tell them, Timmy, Daddy's got you. But I know if I let go for a minute, you'll be fine. Trust it. Just keep pedaling. And you let go. And what happens if they panic and they fall down? Are you going to scold him? No. You're going to get him up, brush his knees off, his hands off, and say, hey, look, you know what? You did good just doing that right there. And you're not dead. You're not bleeding out. You didn't break a bone. But now let's get back on here and do it again. And they may fuss and say, I'm afraid. But what are you going to do? You're going to encourage them. That's what you do with yourself in your journal. You have to be a good parent in your journal. You are refining your future self. If you don't care about yourself, if you don't really love yourself, you're going to discover that in journaling. That's why these social media influencers are so fucking toxic, because they hate themselves. They are not where they want to be at, and they are looking to outside influences, their audience members, to worship them and lift them up on a pedestal, because they need that. They need that more than they need money. I don't need that, and I don't encourage it, and I don't need fucking money. And I'm teaching for free. I'm spending my Saturday morning with y'all. I'm hanging out with you on a non-monetized medium, just talking, trying to encourage some friends of mine. That's all I'm trying to do here. But I bet you probably never thought about things like this. And that should be encouraging to you, because chances are you were probably thinking about it differently and much more toxic. And the metrics of measuring what your expectations were and what you're willing to put yourself through are far out of spec based on what I just said here. Isn't this a whole lot more comforting? If you approach your learning this way, would you not agree that yes, it takes some time to sit down and journal those things? If you don't want to do that, number one, it's shining a huge spotlight on the fact that you don't care enough about yourself and your future success to even consider it. But you're probably the same person that can entertain the idea of going to college. You probably were willing, unless you got a scholarship or your parents paid for your college, you took on student debt that you can't write off, just like taxes. I mean, you can't escape it. But you were willing to go through the process of putting yourself into long-term debt on something you were not even assured was going to be a profitable venture for you. Yeah, I want to be a marine biologist. Yeah, I want to be a psychologist. I want to study philosophy. Why the fuck do people go to college to get a degree in philosophy? I don't understand that. You read the Bible, read some, well maintained texts, and you're going to get a better understanding of philosophy than you would from these bullshit indoctrination centers. But you're willing to put yourself through that 4 years or longer if you're going for a higher degree, PhD, master, something to that effect, to get to the degree of what I'm showing you with technical science. You want to get a PhD in technical science through ICT, the College of ICT, the School of Hard fucking Knocks, because that's what this is. We don't have campus fucking parties. We don't have keg parties. We don't throw TP over the fucking trees and get drunk. We take it serious around here. We are, if trading had colleges, I'm the Ivy fucking League of it. Okay, that's just the way it is. I produce winners. I produce people that give a fuck about themselves. And when they learn how to do this, their esteem is really high. Their self-worth, extremely high. And to weaker people around them, it seems like narcissism. It seems like arrogance. And that's just you reflecting your own insignificance because you've beat yourself down. You let other people do that. They're holding you back. You're holding yourself back because you think toxic thoughts all the time. When I was going through agoraphobia in 2001, 2002, 2003, it was all based on the 9/11 attack. Like I was I was terrified. 'Cause I had people that were not just me. I don't think I would have had this happen to me if I didn't have a wife and kid. If I didn't have that, I think I would have been like, well, yeah, I gotta be on keep my head on a swivel. It is what it is. But because I had family members that I had brought into this world with my wife that are not capable of taking care of themselves, and I have a wife that doesn't look at the world the way she does today, but back then she just was like anything else. Back then we didn't have social media like we have it today. But she used to watch TV news all the time. Every time news would be on, she's watching it. And I'm like, do you realize that nothing good just came off that fucking television? And you want to constantly come back to it? And then you start doing 10 o'clock news. Because 6 o'clock and 5 o'clock news wasn't enough. Now we got to get 10 o'clock because we got to prep you for the 11 o'clock news. And it's always bad, toxic shit. So I was always listening to, in the background, the terror threat's been raised from yellow to orange. That's what they used to do back then. They constantly were priming us to live in fear, and it worked on me. That was the weakest time of my life where I was allowing these assholes to convince me that impending doom was going to happen at any moment. And I was being indoctrinated. I was being brainwashed, like most people back then. And we just watched it now. There's still people driving the fuck around with masks by themselves with their windows rolled up in their car. What the hell's going on? And that's exactly what I told everybody on Twitter, this very app, in 2019. Watch what they're getting ready to do. And here you go. And it ain't done. We're getting ready to hit the real show. And I would be out of my mind with anxiety if I hadn't learned what I'm about to teach you. Everybody has stress. Everybody has stress. That's part of life. Jesus said you're going to have tribulation in this world, but not everybody's going to go through great tribulation. What happens if you have a bad day in the market? What happens if you have a bad day at your job, or you have a falling out in your relationship and you have a trading account open with real money or a funded account or a fund account challenge open that you can trade and see results in? What happens if you have a bad day? What's the first thing you feel like you want to do? Men, I already know what you want to do. Ladies, maybe not so much this, but men, you want to push the button and fuck around and find out. You want to replace that, I just got canned at my job. I just got made redundant and let go. I just got a final written warning that if I do this or don't live up to this output and performance, I'm going to be given my walking papers and fired, terminated. You're stressed out now. Rightfully so. But chances are you probably didn't do the things I'm talking about in this Twitter space here today that could have mitigated all that by taking initiative, being responsible, owning it, and working towards progressing and being better. Because if you journal like this, you're going to find that it starts bleeding into your personal life, not just in trading. You'll find that you'll interact with people in a much more favorable and professional manner. You'll talk differently, your vocabulary will increase, and it won't be quickly reached for toxic opinions. You'll look for reasons to talk about something good and positive because you realize the effect it has on you. So therefore, wow, I know if I talk to someone and I talk about all the positives that I can see in someone and say, hey, look, I see what you're doing. And I think that you are doing an amazing thing here. And I like how you did this. Have you ever considered this? And then you've encouraged them. You acknowledged what they did was right, and you encourage them. That's what goes on in our community. I don't see that happening in other people's community. I see a competitive, I got to be better, I got to stand out. I have a few of those in my group, and they're revealing themselves. I don't need to know what sex they are. I can tell what they are, the way they talk in their posts. They're toxic males. They want to be dominating, okay? And chances are they're probably being reckless in their trading. You can read a person very easily by watching what they put on social media. You can see their frailties. You can see their strengths. You can see how they think. And how they share their opinion about other people is a direct relationship to how they view themselves because they're projecting. Are you someone like that? Are you someone that's like that? You're always critical, talking to everybody else because you're thinking that if you do that, it eases the pain because you're not in your journal telling yourself that this is an opportunity to improve upon. These are a frailty. These are a character flaw that I have at the moment. But here's how I'm going to fix it and work towards making it better or less impactful for the negative aspects. You're being responsible with yourself. You're cultivating a proper learning environment. You're removing all toxicity. You're not inviting all of the opinions of others, even if they are loved ones, even if they are your spouse. They're not going to see it the way you see it right now. Let them discover how much a success you really are when you get there quietly. Don't talk about it. Because if you're going to talk about it, you're using energy that could have been used to study. That's time that could have been used for studying and journaling. If it's good enough for you to say it before you live it, before you have it in your hands, if you're going to say it out loud, because you hear this people talking about, I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to speak it into existence. You're not God. Only one can do that. But you can self-talk and encourage yourself. But in trading, you do not do that in social circles. You don't do that. Don't do that. You channel that stuff right into your journal. And when you have a bad day, you have a toxic day, that's a day you don't trade. But that's not what you want to hear. ICT, I don't give a shit what you say. I need to feel good. You ever see the movie Monster Ball? Halle Berry, Billy Bob Thornton. There's a scene in there where she's lit and she's trying to basically be intimate because she just needs to feel good. And that's exactly what she says in the script. Come on, I want to feel good. She's crying. I want to feel good. That's exactly what all of you are doing inside. And you're hoping that trading, making money is going to fill that. I can tell you, it doesn't. It doesn't. Every successful, consistently profitable trader, if they're absolutely 100% honest, that's not where their sense of fulfillment comes from. It comes from the fact that they have a model that they trust, that they refined, that they worked towards, that they guarded, that they had faith in, that faith grew over time. And they journaled their progress and they refined it, where they are never tinkering with it. That means they're never trying to add something or take away something. They're content with that. And that is a sense of mindset that you can't put a price tag on that. Your job's not guaranteed. You're going to be there 5 years from now. You're not guaranteed to be here tomorrow. Your profitable trade isn't guaranteed in your next transaction, in your clicking of the button. It's not guaranteed. But the folks that have a sound model that they've worked and refined, they don't obsess about that. They understand that every trade is a losing trade. That their skill set, that their faith-based model that they have groomed and they've isolated to this is all I'm going to look for. This is all I'm worried about. This is the time I'm focusing on trading. I'm not in there all day long trading. Again, that's somebody that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? You're inviting the rate of failure exponentially. Get in there more than you should when you don't know what the hell you're doing. Wrong. Surgeons, doctors, they're specialists. Everybody that goes through med school are not proctologists. But in trading, everybody on social media is a fucking proctologist. They got their finger in everybody's ass sniffing, what did you have for lunch? They're in everybody's fucking business. Surgeons, they're brain surgeons, they're heart surgeons. They're orthopedic surgeons. They specialize. They went through the same schooling, but then branched off and said, This is what I'm doing. What did they do? What did they do? Do you think that they were fucking journaling and studying feet if they're going to be a brain surgeon? They want to know everything about the foot and the anatomy, the nerve endings of a foot when they're studying the brain or the heart or any other, a gastric surgeon. No, they reduced their focus in on one specific task. Their model as a surgeon is that they have to know exactly how they're going to cut and engage the human body for the purposes of helping this particular part of the human body heal. The outcome is, if that trade, if we want to personify it that way, it's profitable if the patient is improved and gets to live longer and a more fulfilling life. And the ailment they came in to have addressed gets corrected by the surgeon's model being applied to that body. We don't go to a general practitioner when we need surgery. We may need to initially get a recommendation, like here, I'm going to recommend you go to this surgeon here. But they're not doing the cutting. They're just doing a genuine evaluation. We don't need that here. As a trader, you're that. You're the CEO. You're the CFO. You're the person that gets fired when you blow the account. You're the person that has to do fundraising to start it up again. It's everything. You incorporated. That's what this is. And you're saying that you're not interested in journaling? When every corporate enterprise has some measure of doing that same KPI measurement. KPIs, they're performance measurements. How well you're performing. What's your output? What's the results of those output? And if you don't do that with yourself, the enterprise that you daydream about yourself being, this super rock star riding around in Lear jets, driving cars that are too expensive, oil change cost too much, and nobody gives a shit after 2 days of looking at it. Oh, yeah, who cares? You're expecting people to love you because you have something that they can't afford. How long do you think that lasts? It doesn't last long. Then there's animosity. So you're inviting the opposite. You're inviting it. You're inviting all the wrong things versus you don't ever wear your wealth on your sleeve. You're content with how you live a simple life. If anybody looks at me on the outside, they would never know that I live an affluent lifestyle. They would never know it. I don't want people, especially today, I don't want to be out in public wearing a $45,000 watch anymore. I don't want to do that. Get busted upside the head. I can't look at every minute around my surroundings. Someone's going to ask me a question. I'm going to do something. I'm going to reach for a door, and I'm going to get busted in the head, and the $40,000 watch is now theirs. But you see these 20-year-olds out there, and they're doing all this flashy stuff. And things are getting hard. And what are they doing? They're inviting the mindset that says, you know what? I can't get what you have doing what you do. And then that pisses me off. So I'm going to find out where you are and take something off of you. You don't realize that, young man, but that's exactly what you're doing. In this world today, that's exactly what you're asking for. Driving around in cars, asking to get this shit lifted off of you. Because you want to look good. You want to measure your success based on other people's opinion and how often they mention you on social media. They're always talking about me, and it's stupid. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it. I just want to be like everybody else. That's all I want, and I can't be that anymore, and it bothers me. You want to believe that I love being looked up to and worshipped. I don't want to be worshipped. I just want people to say, hey, what's up, Michael? How you been? That's it. I don't want to be looked up at, and I won't let anybody look down. That's how I carry myself. I live my life just like that. And some of you are doing this, trying to refine your future self, so that way you can be some kind of character online, some kind of influencer, some kind of celebrity. And you might be. And you might do things differently. You might be well-rounded, down-to-earth person. That'd be great. That'd be a very wholesome thing to see. I would be a fan of that. That's what I'm trying to cultivate. But don't let it get twisted. That same person is still going to have confidence through the fucking roof. And if they're honest and they're asked, hey, how do you feel about trading this? That you ever have any anxiety about trading? No. No. There isn't a trading day out there that I can't walk out there and say, I'm going to take this and I'm leaving with it and you can't fucking stop me. Now think about that. That sounds unheard of, right? But I'm demonstrating that in live streams. I'm showing you where it's going to go to, and that's the beginning building blocks. But if you take these case studies where you simply watch price action, and you don't know in your present state, if you just began to learn how to do this stuff, you don't know where it's going. You're guessing at everything that's going on, and you're trying to apply an indicator or somebody else's logic while I'm talking about what price is going to do. And what I'm telling you it's doing it. And you're not retaining anything except for, I didn't get anything from this. When I see comments and I leave a post on my community post on my YouTube channel, I'll say, what did you learn in this live stream? I usually got about 3 or 4 people that say nothing. And I block them. I'll never see their comments again because that's a fucking idiot. Okay? If you ever left that, I want you to know I'm calling you an idiot. You're a fucking idiot because I'm laying down things that if you're paying attention, they repeat every day. So to me, you're a joke. Anybody that says that they're not getting anything from it simply is an idiot. Or you're just a hateful piece of shit that has all of this attention placed on what I'm teaching in our community, and it's overshadowing you. And you're just trying to poke and be vindictive. And it's sad. You don't need to do that stuff. You're not going to change me. You're not going to stop other people from wanting to learn this. The cat's out of the bag. It's a phenomenon now. It's global. And all I want to do is ask your permission collectively as a community is just let me step down like a CEO. I don't want to be the face. I just want to hey, look, I'm thankful that Michael released this stuff, but stop trying to make me a celebrity all the time. I don't want that. I do want to see who comes up out of all this, and I want to see them, whether it be male or female, to do it better than I did. That means don't have all these chest ups to other people. I do it for fun. I did it for marketing initially because it was all upside for me. I simply wanted to go out there and draw a crowd. So I knew either one, I would be entertained by it, or the social experiment that I started on Baby Pips was going to produce something. And while I do have students that are profitable, I don't have an ICT 2.0. And that's what I wanted to see. Because the things I taught initially, the old stuff, where I was talking about support resistance, where I was talking about indicators and MACD and this and stuff, that's exactly how I started. So I was producing the same climate, the same environment, in the same order that I went through to see if I could create that same magic that happened at who I am today. And it was unfortunate that I was hoping it was going to happen, but nothing happened like that. I have profitable students. I have wildly profitable students, but I don't have an ICT 2.0. And I'm hoping that Caleb will allow me, if he listens to me, he'll have the greatest advantage of doing it. But there's no guarantee. Everybody has their own problems that they have to wrestle with. I don't know. I'm not inside my son's head. I don't know if he's going to have, he's had a bout of anxiety one time when he had a job at, I don't know where he was, but he clammed up, just couldn't function, and they had to send him home. It was just simply an anxiety attack. But you don't want to go into the marketplace looking for a feel-good replacement for generalized stress. Generalized stress is you had a rough day at work. You got a flat tire. You had a blowout in your relationship, a fight. You hurt yourself. You got sick. All these things are triggering. They make you want to do something other than what you're feeling at that moment. Men are usually very, very quick to jump in here and I need to feel good about something. And our currency in the world, we think is, I got to look stronger. I got to look faster and more formidable and scary to the rest of the guys. I got to be intimidating. No, you don't. No, you don't. I watched some joker leave a post when I had put the invitation to come to this Twitter space. They said, somebody find that video where he said he's never going to do another Twitter space, and he was crying. I love the fact that your little dick energy thinks that that's some kind of a fucking character flaw. I ain't seen anybody else out there that was open enough to show their real emotions. Because I've went through shit that would break your fucking bitch ass. You would never be able to go through what I went through. So put up them videos. The only thing that's going to do is show people that I give a fuck. I give a fuck. I'm not out here panhandling, buy my $200 course, buy my $300 fucking course, repackage this, repackage that. I'm laying down a lifetime of wisdom for free. And I already know it works. And I have students all around the world that are using it, and it's helping them. And they're going to learn how to balance themselves better today, how to focus on things and not try to use the economy of replacement approach of taking a bad day, feeling anxiety, feeling sick, I had a bad day at work, or I didn't get the promotion I was expecting, something that just doesn't give you a feel-good, sense of accomplishment. Men will go into the trading account and try to do this and replace it with winning money. And it need only be $100. Hey, it's $100. I feel better today. I mean, $100. I can go out there and I can make $100. That's better than walking down the street and finding a $100 bill in front of you, right? I mean, who's going to look at that $100 and say, man, fuck you, I ain't picking you up. But in men's eyes, we think that, hey, I know how to trade. And yes, I hate my fucking job. And yes, my girlfriend's mad at me because I didn't remember our birthday as a relationship, our anniversary, whatever it is you call it. Men, try to find a way to anchor your marriage on a day that you will never forget. And that's why I chose Valentine's Day. I know it's cliche. I know it's kind of like boring, but guess what? I generally don't do well with remembering dates. Like, I love my kids, but sometimes I have to ask my wife, when were they born? And she gets mad if I don't know their weight or what time they were. Women will never forget that shit. But that's why they're helpmeets for us. They have that capacity where we are the go out and get, and they are the stay home and keep. And that's why they're better traders. You don't want to change that composition as a female. And there's somebody out there think that there's more than two sexes, and don't leave me the bullshit because I'm just going to block you. I haven't blocked anybody since I've been back here, but if you give me that bullshit woke stuff, I'm blocking. I don't give a fuck what you think, okay? But there's a male and there's a female. And in trading, the females are better traders because if they have that nesting approach, as they are as women, they don't take crazy risks. They want to keep what they have, and if they can get more, they're trusting their other half to do that. That's the relationship. That's what's been torn down. Men, we think that we have to be fucking Superman and we got to go out and do more than what's necessary. And you bring that same misguided logic to your trading. I got to do more than this other guy did. I got to do more than I did yesterday or I'm not progressing. I got to replace this bad feeling. I'm going to probably get canned. I'm probably going to get fired. My girlfriend saw this other guy's car. We were out on a date, and I kept watching. She was looking at his car. She probably would go out with him if he gave her the time of day. I got to really, really do well. I got to do fast. I got to impress her. If you feel that way about that woman or that man, you're probably with the wrong person. Because if they're not constantly telling you, you know what? I am happy that I have you. And you don't need to do all these other things because the time that you spend with me, I feel fulfilled doing that. Gentlemen, ladies, if you find that, you are rich. You will have the fertile ground that builds a legacy of wealth because chances are they're not going to want to leave you. They're already with you and you have nothing. And if you build this up in front of them, and you allow them to be a source of encouragement, not in the way that we were talking about earlier, but hey, this is what I think I'm going to do, and you expect them to encourage you. They're not going to see technical analysis. They're not going to see trading and speculation. Any losing trade, a female is going to be like, is this the beginning of financial turmoil? Because they're nesting. Their capacity as a human is to protect what is theirs. They don't want to upset the household. They don't want to upset the family element. They want to keep peace. Men, we get out there and we try to tear shit up because we feel like we got to be Godzilla, stomp down on everything. Don't fuck with me and my family. That's the way it is. And we can laugh about it, or we can look at it and say, oh, this is stupid. This guy's giving dumb analogies. But this is the facts. Women are better because they think that way. How do they mess up? When they try to be a man. When they try to do things like a man. Go out there and do more than necessary. Compete. Be competitive. I want to do better than this so-and-so. And there's some toxic females on social media. You'd think they had a penis. Bigger sack than most men. Walking around talking bullshit. More foul-mouthed than I am sometimes. They're compensating. They're compensating. And some of them, if I could be honest, and you give me the liberty to be able to say so, some of them are actually very attractive. And you would think, why would you even act the way you're acting? Like, you're literally a beautiful person on the outside, but you're ugly as fuck in the inside, and you're producing that from the things you speak and how you behave. So all these things are outside influences that are going to cause you to derail yourself. But you won't recognize them unless you journal them. When you place a microscope over every decision you're making and every thought that you have, when you have these things under the microscope of a journal, and you constantly encourage yourself through positive self-talk, that means if there is something that happened bad, that was an adverse response to something you did or indirectly didn't do at all, it just happened to you, like a car accident. You didn't want this truck to hit you, but you couldn't avoid it. You were sitting at a red light, and they hit you. And that's a bad day. That sucks. But you could have done nothing to avoid it. That's manual intervention. That's the same thing happens when you're in a trade. Everything looks like it's there, and then bam. What the hell just happened? Well, you got a taste of it. Does that mean trading, throw it out the window? No. It just means that that's why you have to have a stop loss. That's why you shouldn't over leverage. Period. Now, how's that for logic versus going out there, having no idea what's going on, putting money into an account to discover that you don't know how to trade, and now you have compounded difficulty because you lost your $100 account because you have to learn with real money. If you want to spend $100 so badly, go out there, drive around town, and find somebody that's homeless and stick that $100 bill in their fucking hand and say, you know what? Have a good day. Have a good day and get something to eat. Because you're going to have a better feeling about that than you losing that $100 discovering that you just gambled it away. And you created scar tissue as a developing student and as a trader. You now have to go through the process of digging through that painful, I got bad experience now. I have adverse response to me making these decisions with real money. And yes, it was $100. And when I put it in the account, I knew if I lost it, it shouldn't have bothered me. But guess what? When it goes down to $25 or if it goes down to $50, you're fucking sick to your stomach. I should have never did this. I'm mad. I got to get it back. And what have you done? You've evolved into a gambler, and you're trying to do what? Replace negative with a victory that's not assured to you. And you're doing it with a clouded mind. You're doing it under stress. You have no idea how to calm yourself down. You have no idea to come out of that negative, toxic thought that you have to have it back right now. Why? Why do you need to have that loss back right now? Because you think that you are less of a person, less of a trader, you're a failure as a trader if you can't get it back right away. And that is grade A bullshit. That's bullshit. Who told you that? Who told you that you have to win that back right now because you just lost it? Nobody. But it's in your fucking head. It's in your head that you think that that's exactly what every profitable trader can do. They take a losing trade and they get it back real quick before the end of the day. That is bullshit. That's not how it works. That's how you go on tilt. That's how you blow your accounts. That's how every time I blow an account, that's exactly how it happened. I got to fix this. I feel less of a man. I feel less of a trader. I don't feel profitable. I don't feel capable. I'm not going to be successful unless I can do this. get it right back the same day. I got to do this or I can't be successful. This will define my ability to be successful or not. If I can't get that loss back right now, I can't be successful. That's exactly what you're lying to yourself with. You're lying to yourself with that. And you believe the bullshit. You're believing it. And that is causing scar tissue. You have no idea how much harder you're making it when you place these types of constraints on yourself. You're placing much more workload on your back than is necessary to be a trader. You have no reason to think that way. Zero. But it feels right when you're doing it, and it's the wrong perspective. When you're learning and you do things wrong, and it's an adverse reaction and response, you take it home. You take it home like an orphan, like a stray dog, and you nurture it and say, you know what? It didn't work out well today. You look hungry. You need to be bathed. You need to be nurtured a little bit. And you talk positive to it. Say, you know what? I'm going to use you to feel good by doing the right things, not feel good by taking chances and gambling to fix you as a trade. I'm going to go home and teach myself that you aren't going to take me out. You're not going to break me if I have to feed you, stray animal. I can afford to give you a meal and clean you up and find you a good home or keep you as mine. How do you keep a losing trade? Doing the right things, not emotionally, not psychologically imbalanced and going in here, I got to do it right now, fix it. You come out of that drawdown with less risk that you did when you took the loss. What does that do? Number one, it prevents the likelihood of you having this toxic mindset about going in and fixing it right away. What do you think it feels like when you do it by risking less money and you get that loss back? It feels real good. Because now, with half the effort, half the risk, you can recover and mitigate that loss. How about that? But what happens if you take another losing trade because maybe you're still scared and it's hurt your feelings and hurt your pride, your ego is bruised. You have to hurry up and fix it because someone's going to ask you about your results. Or worst case scenario, you're making your results public. You have now compounded the difficulty of trading to unbelievable levels. A lot of people can't trade under that kind of pressure. It will prevent you from finding success because you're afraid of the outcome for the purposes of having other people's opinion placed on you. And a lot of you want that in the beginning. That's dumb. That's stupid. But what happens if you go into trying to mitigate that loss with half the risk that you put on, half the leverage? In other words, say you had a one mini S&P or NASDAQ contract on, and you took a $200 loss. Okay, $200 is $200, but it's not life-ending, right? What happens if you went down into micro lots? Say you did a series of trades using micros, 2 or 3 of them, instead of using one mini. So you're trading with anywhere between $2 to $6 per handle movement versus $20 per handle movement in the mini contract. But you take that $200 loss back using the smallest amount of leverage. Why would you not want to give yourself that historical record that you can do that? Now that flies in the face of everybody else's perspective. Dude, I'm not trading micro lots. Dude, I'm here trying to make money. Okay, are you still working? Well, don't ask me about that right now. I got time. I just started trading 6 years ago. It falls on its face, doesn't it? You want to learn how to make money? Trade with the least amount of money. The smallest leverage. You're going to see that. I'm going to be pushing the button in the micro contract chart this week. Teaching my son, do this, do this, do this. Some of you dumb fucks are going to sit there and say, oh, look at this. This trade didn't go here. Look, he sucks. That's not what this is about. This is for you to desensitize yourself. Getting out there, because if you're fearful of taking a trade, if you're fearful of missing the real fair value gap or the real order block or the real whatever. This is what you're supposed to be doing when you're not watching my live streams or watching my videos. What are you doing with your demo account? What are you doing watching price action? These are the things that you're trying to do. They're little laboratory experiments that gives you baseline data. That means this is what my first soiree, this is my first attempt in doing this. Not knowing much about anything, I'm going to do this exercise, and I'm going to do it every single day. And in the results of each individual day and across the week, how many transactions did you do? What were the net results of it? How many times did you see a stop out? How many times did you see it go to target? How many times did it fail but move halfway to the target? These are all KPIs. These are all things that are going to help you build an enterprise mindset about your trading. It's not just simply, I got money to put down and let's pull the slot machine arm and see what happens. And then get on social media and parade like a dickhead. Like, look how smart I am. Dude, I'm fucking a predator. I'm a caveman. Look at me. Come at me, bro. I do that as a character. That's not my character in real life. My wife will tell you. My kids will tell you. That's not who I am. But I do it because I know it causes a lot of ruckus and people talk. And that's free advertisement, because if you're going to talk, people's going to come here. And then you probably found your way to this Twitter space because someone said something about me, and it probably wasn't a positive thing. It's probably something, listen to this guy, he's fucking crazy. He's bipolar, he's going to swing all over the place. And I use that to hook you, to bring you in here, to listen. And the people that are smart, they'll take the information and use it. Others can go off and fuck off, I don't care. But the point is, you have to have some kind of a baseline. And you have to guard yourself. And by refining your future self, by removing all the toxic stuff, filtering out all the bullshit that's going to be made available to you on social media, other influencers are going to give you opinions about things. Okay, that's their opinion. You didn't ask for it, did you? Some of you do. Some of you actually pay for it. You join other communities and they're bad-mouthing everybody. I bad-mouth every other trading discipline. Okay? Unless I put a person's name on it, I'm basically saying that everything you're learning, that is not what causes markets to go up and down. But if you want to lie to yourself and say the last time you had a bout of gout or tennis elbow, you bought, gold, it went up. That's your religion now. Your model is religion-based. And that's what harmonic patterns is to me. Because you're believing something that has no bearing on why price goes up. You're believing something so subjective. I don't have subjectivity in my analysis, because old highs have buy stops above it. Old lows have sell side below it. And there's inefficiencies in price. Pray tell, how the fuck is that make believe? How is that in conjecture? You can't deny it. Anybody can look at the chart and see that. But tell me which trend line is the right one. Tell me what trend line is the right one on any given time frame. That's subjective. What's support and resistance level? Everybody's going to have a different support and resistance level. Everyone's going to come up with it. You get enough sample size of time frames. Everybody's going to have something different. But everybody, if they understand what a fair value gap is, they're going to point to the same fucking candlestick. They're going to look at the same minor buy side, minor sell side, and then you have primary sell side and buy side. That's your dealing ranges. They're not up for discussion. They're not up for debate. There's a highest high and the lowest low inside the session. That's it. The previous day's high and low. Are they hiding that information from you? No. Previous week's high and low. Are they hiding that information? Are they changing it like Forex fucking dealers? Everybody has a different high and low. Everybody has a different settlement price. Speaking of settlement price, do you see where NASDAQ closed on Friday? At the low of that buy side and balance, sell side inefficiency that we were studying. You think that's fucking random? You think that that's just going to happen because sellers said, oh, we're not going to go any lower than that. Buyers said, I don't want to buy anymore. So then sellers balanced out and stopped it right at the low of the buy side and balance, sell side inefficiency that we were looking at on the live stream. And they said there's no algorithm. Come on, man. You got to wake up. The whole world's ran on algorithms now. Everything you watch on social media is getting piped to you based on what you have watched before. They're learning you. They're studying you like a candlestick, motherfucker. They got you pegged. They know where your high and low is, and they know how to run your stops. They know how to get you excited. They know how to make you spend money. They know how to blow your account. That's your bank account. Oh, I was just thinking about that, fill in the blank. Because your little device you're listening to me in right now, it's listening to you. And every time you talk about something, I'm in the car walking, or not walking, driving. I never take my cell phone with me anywhere unless my wife's shopping. And then I'm usually on social media blasting it. I'm trying to zone out because she's asking me questions. What do you think about this? And you think I look good in this? And how about these? Which one you like better? I said, fuck, any question you ask me like that, I'm not going to give you the right answer. So if you like them both, just fucking buy them both. And then I'm done. I'm completely exempt. I can't be looked at like, oh, you asshole. You should like this one more. Why'd you ask me? If you like it more, why does it matter if I like it more? But that's a woman thing. And a guy thing is, keep me the fuck out of that. But to be a supporting, nurturing husband, I go along as the wallet with legs, okay? So I handed a credit card, and I'm basically distracting myself with social media. Chances are, if I'm going 100 miles an hour on social media, I'm probably in a climate where my wife is spending money, and I don't want to be there paying attention to that because I'm trying to avoid her. Because if she sees me in my phone, chances are she's not going to ask me the question. She's like, okay, I ain't going to ask him. He's doing his thing. He's being ICT. He's ICT doing ICT things. Bro, we don't care about your wife. We don't care about all this stuff. Tell us how to make money. I am. I am. I'm telling you how to have the right mindset. Because if you don't think correctly, if you don't manage stress, and here's where we're going to segue into it. So for those folks that want to do things on YouTube and you're recording this for the purpose of putting it on your YouTube channel, I hope you make money with it, by the way, because things are expensive. And allow me to get a drink here for a second. This is the part where we go into how to conquer and subdue anxiety and stress and living with stress. I just gotta get a little sip here. Peek what time it is. I've been going 2 hours and 15 minutes. Not bad. About 2 hours. It didn't feel like 2 hours. I'm going to try to get this part done in an hour. I know I usually say this kind of stuff and it ends up going for a long, long time. But Caleb's not feeling well today, so I have to check on him and see how everything's going with him in terms of, I think he's sick with something. I don't know what it is. But if you are a person of faith, if you could keep him in prayer, I'd be wonderful. I'd appreciate that. But the human body is wonderfully and fearfully created. And we have the amazing superpower of regeneration. Every 7 years, everything in our body, just about, not everything entirely, but everything has been completely replaced in 7 years. Your skin cells are completely different. The surface of your bones are changing. Your eye, it changes. Like now, because I'm 52 years old, I'm experiencing the hardening of my eye lens. It doesn't have the flexibility as it did when I was a younger man. So my eye prescriptions are going up as I get older. And that's just a normal thing that happens when people get older. So you want to preserve your eyesight and you do whatever you can to protect your eyesight. I'm convinced that iPhone was one of the big contributing factors to why my vision deteriorated, because it wasn't until after I bought my first iPhone and used it a lot. And when you first got it, they gave you a warning that you had to acknowledge that you know that looking at this device will have adverse effects on your vision. You probably never noticed it, but it was in there. And every time that you get these phones, if you read it, it'll tell you. It's warning you, just like smoking cigarettes. This is going to cause lung cancer. This is going to cause heart disease. But yet people still pay it. They buy it. So I don't like to use my phone unless I have to be out and about and I know I'm going to be in an environment where I'm going to distract myself. Otherwise, my phone stays home. But what I was saying to you earlier is an algorithm in your phone is constantly listening to you so that it can influence you. And when you see these things pop up that you were talking about, like when I was talking about generators, one of my students emailed me and said, hey, look, we just had an experience with a hurricane or storm. And I know you mentioned in the past, what generators do you like? Well, I went on Amazon, and I took a screenshot of it, not an affiliate link or anything like that, and I sent it to her, and I said, this is a good one. It uses very low fuel. It's the Honda, um, little red one. I don't know what model number it is, but it does well. It runs a long time on a little bit of gas. And because I was talking about it with her in the car, her phone picked up on what I was saying. And then now she gets all these advertisements offering her generators. So if if you don't understand that the market is a great big algorithm that is enticing people to buy and sell for their benefit, not yours, then I don't know how else to convince you, because everything that we do is influenced by algorithms. Everything. And it's not a stretch of the imagination to see how when electronic trading became electronic and open outcry in the pits was done away with, that's why open outcry pit traders don't do very well, because the advantages of having that stressful run of not knowing what the market's going to do and they just have a shit day. But when everybody's dogpiling in and there's a lot of orders going into the marketplace, they catch the momentum by following on. Okay, they see the orders. Just like when you understand how to read buy side and sell side, they know where the highs and lows are for the intraday. They're writing it down on a little scratch pad. This was the highest high it went to in the last hour. This is the highest high it went to on the day so far. So when the market starts to run towards that high, chances are, what's it going to do? It's going to pop the high. And a lot of pit traders, that was their thing. And they had the advantage of seeing the influx of all the real orders coming in, not something that's fluffed up with bookmap, level 2 data. All of that stuff can be scammed. But when they're in the pit and they see actual tickets being ran down to the floor, they have an inside edge of being a momentum trader. But now, because they don't have that anymore, they have the stress of now being forced to look at a chart. And that's why they don't, historically, they don't do well. It's a great big divergence between what they're accustomed to having faith in and what was their model of just was piggyback. Let's all dogpile on what's going on right now. That's usually what was going on in the pit. But they don't exist anymore. So that's a source of stress for that type of person. You, as someone that's coming up in this industry now, if you're brand new, you have all the advantages today that wasn't afforded to people like me and before me. I started November 5th, 1992. That's when I first started being a trader. I was being influenced by my uncle at 14, talking to me, telling me, I would hear him, and I didn't know he was laying the seeds that eventually would become who I am today, but he didn't teach me how to trade. He didn't know how to trade. He was just like, he was like a conduit. I think God basically was using him to constantly push it, because this is my whole life. That's my whole purpose here. I'm convinced of it. But it wasn't an easy path, and I had lots of stress. And I want to take you back to 2001 for a second and kind of paint the picture. I was on Merc, which was MIRC. It was an internet relay chat. We didn't have social media like we have today. Like if you wanted to be online, you did either bulletin boards, message boards, basically. Think of like the early stages of America Online. And then if you weren't on a platform like America Online, you used internet relay chat, which were like chat rooms today. Okay. And honestly, that was way better than social media today. Social media today is afforded people the ability to really be horrible to one another. The worst thing that could happen back then was someone cuss you out. Oh, okay, whatever, big deal. But now they could take your image, your photo, Photoshop it, make you look fat, make you look skinny, make you look toothless, make you look homeless, make you look like a female when you're a male, or vice versa. And that's just toxic. And I wish that wasn't part of what social media is today, but I understand it's meant to divide us constantly, and that causes stress. I have one of the biggest reasons for being an angry person, if I was insecure, because of the things that people put on the internet about me that are not true. I don't have any stress about those types of things. I don't like that people sometimes talk about my family when they don't know my family. They lie and they say things terrible about my family. I get angry when I see that stuff, There's things that I would like to do if they were in front of me, and they would never fucking do that if I was in front of them because they'd lose their fucking teeth. But if you're walking through your daily life and you have all of these adversities that everybody endures it, everybody has these stresses, and you allow it to compound and fester and build up, eventually you might have, and don't be surprised if you don't have any understanding of what a panic attack is, but eventually, given enough time, if you keep having these stressful environments and you keep allowing yourself to be in these stressful conditions, you can enter into a state of panic. And that's where you allow generalized stress, go beyond that to generalized anxiety, and then to full-blown panic. And I am intimately aware of what that feels like because dozens of times I have been ushered into the emergency room by ambulance, swearing up and down to the time that I was getting ready to meet my maker. As a young man, at 18, 19 years old, I had panic attacks then because I was obsessive about my first wife. She was someone that looked exactly like Alicia Silverstone. I have pictures to prove all that stuff. She was a troubled girl, and I married her to get out of a troubled situation. I had a lot of stress placed on me that I shouldn't have placed on me as a young man. But I was trying to be a white knight. I was trying to save her from a toxic home environment. And if I apologize for that. You might want to edit that part out. The stress of being in a young relationship and being my first, that was the first female I was intimate with. Because I'm a journaler, because I've always journaled as a person. I journal dreams. I have a dream journal. I was always journaling things about martial arts. I wanted to have my own martial arts studio. I did all these things as a young man. And I can tell you the date and time where I lost my virginity. Chances are most men out here listening to me can't do that. The women probably can do that because it means something to them. And when I was growing up, I wanted to give that part of me to someone that deserved it. And I felt that this girl at the time was everything I wanted. And if we would have stayed together, I would have never been with anybody else. I've always been principle oriented. I've always been someone that the numbers and the probabilities of things. And when you think that way, it's not unnatural for you to elevate the level of importance around things that are going to be your best outcome. And when they don't hit, when you don't reach those numbers or those goals, what will happen is that you will eventually have measures of regret, being let down, like you didn't perform as well as you should have. And when that happens, you can obsess about it. And I developed an obsessive compulsive disorder where I would look at things and I would judge myself very critically. And I would weigh myself against other people. When these other people had such a higher degree of efficiency and experience that it would be unreasonable for me to have that expectation to live up to that measure of performance. But because I was a young man and because we always think of ourselves as a superhero in the making, the pressure that we place on ourselves, like I was placing on myself as a young man, it compounded. And on September 11th, I was teaching a young man, well, not a young man, I think he was a little bit older than I was, but not by much. I've mentioned it before. His name is George Lutz, and he lived in Virginia. And I was teaching him how to trade the S&P. And I would call the S&P and outline where it was going to go in text, because we couldn't do charts back then. I couldn't share a chart in a chat room or anything like that, because that was not, we didn't have the capability of doing that. So give me 1 second here. The morning of September 11th was just like any other day. It was weather is beautiful. I woke up feeling good. I had already started giving pre-market analysis to Mr. Lutz, and He wasn't paying for mentorship. Like he didn't pay me to do it. He offered to pay me a little bit of money, but because he was literally delivering pizza then. And I told him, I said, listen, you know, I can relate to what you're doing. I can physically relate to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit with you and coach you through it. And once you get a feel for what it is you're trying to do, I'll turn you loose, but you don't need to pay me for it. And I took Cody to public school. He and my oldest daughter, they went to public school. And my younger ones, we homeschooled them. But the morning I took Cody to school, it was beautiful out. And I was telling myself, wow, this is such a lovely day. And everything was just picture perfect. You ever have a day like that where you wake up and everything's so good. You feel good. No headache, no body aches. Just, you feel happy. You feel like you're at the right place at the right time, and you feel wonderfully balanced. Everything is as it should be. And I was coming back home. I was driving down through Essex, Maryland. And I literally was holding my hand out, thinking to myself, it is such a beautiful day. Said it out loud. And I pulled up to the house, I went inside, hit the remote, CNBC, and there's a picture of the first building, pluming smoke coming out of it. And I looked at it and looked away thinking, okay, it's just a commercial for, a movie or something. And I turned my screen on, because I would always turn my screen off, I'd leave the system running. And then I said to George, I said, hey, I'm back. He's like, did you see what just happened? And I was like, no, what just happened? He goes, turn on the TV. I said, it is on. And he goes, a plane just hit the Trade Center. I said, is that what that was? So I'm thinking it's one of those like little sinestas, and they were actually saying that on the TV at the time. And as I was talking to him, I said, man, can you imagine the people in that little plane? Because again, I wasn't thinking it was an airline. And then I watched the second plane hit live. And I can't tell you how it made me feel like sick to my stomach. I'm like, I know what this is. Like, I know what this is. And immediately I told him, I said, listen, I'm in a trade right now. And I'm waiting for the open to close it. Like, I wanted to see it follow through with what I was holding the trade for. And because of that, I knew we weren't going to open up. The market was not going to open up. There was not going to be an opening bell. And there was news that other planes were en route to other places. And I wanted my family home immediately. And fear gripped me in a way I've never felt before. I had anxiety attacks about my first wife, when we would get arguments because I was lovesick over her, obsessively lovesick. I was unnaturally committed to her in an unhealthy way. And eventually grew into a point where I was trying to tell her what to wear, how to act, who to talk to, and that just guaranteed that we weren't going to stay together because of my insecurities. But it was justified in looking backwards because there was infidelity there. And I picked up on it subconsciously. I knew it was there, but I didn't want to address it. In life, when you feel like something's not right, you need to obviously address it, because if you let it fester, it could become very bad. And that day was my first dose of full-blown panic. Like, I felt like my chest was crushing me. I couldn't think where all my family members were. Like, I couldn't collect my thoughts. And I couldn't even type out the message to Mr. Lutz to tell him I'm getting off of here. I got to take care of personal matters. I called my wife at her family member's house and I said, listen, I need you home. Like, I need you to go home right now. We need to get the kids out of school. You get our daughter and I'll get Cody and, let's just head back to the house. Don't stop anywhere. And she's like, why? What's going on? I explained to her and she was like, oh, okay, well, big deal. And she didn't realize and I knew that day things were changing around the world. I knew at that moment something big just shifted. A major shift. And if you look back, if you're old enough, a lot of you 20-year-olds don't even know what that day was like. You don't know what the world was like before that day, where people could have communications with other people. We didn't have racism back then. We didn't have things that made other people and other cultures at war with one another at the time. It was a different, people had a sense of humor. If you were gay, a comedian could make references to your lifestyle, and you would be in the audience and you'd laugh about it. You weren't trying to force your lifestyle on us, and we weren't trying to force our lifestyle on you. And we got along better as a people. But that all shifted that day. And everything was a means of divisiveness. And I started feeling all that, and everything became a pressure cooker of stress. And I didn't like it. And the news, as I was saying earlier, my wife used to watch this stuff, and it would be toxic. It would tell you, oh, the terror threat would go up from yellow to orange. And then all of a sudden one day it would be lower to yellow, and then it would jump to red. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know how it's going to happen and who's going to do it, but something might happen today. Be on guard. What the hell? No wonder people are constantly stressed out. And then what do you think happened? Who do you think could take that and make money? The pharmaceutical industry. Anxiety medicines became a thing that was like Flintstone vitamins. Everybody had to have it in their household. I would never take those types of drugs. I would never do that. Never, never, never would I ever do that, because it's an altered state. I'm not going to allow myself to be in an altered state. So I endured a lot of stress, fear, anxiety, and panic attacks. And it eventually affected my eating, where I didn't want to eat. And then it got to the point where I would dehydrate. I would go to the hospital just to get hydrated. I'd feel good for a little while, and I'd go right back into the thing where I would be so stressed out I couldn't eat. And it was this endless loop of constantly going through that. And I think I told you that I was going to post a picture of myself where I was 195 pounds of well-built, just not like Mr. Olympia, but I was well-built. I took care of myself. And I went down from that to 150 pounds. And I looked like a cancer patient, like I was going through some kind of regimen of chemo. And my face was sunk in. My skin was horrible. My bones and my joints hurt because I was malnourished. But even feeling that way, I wouldn't eat healthy, because I used the perspective of food being an adversary to me. If I ate, I felt like I was sick. So how do I keep myself from being sick? Don't eat. And it became so bad that I had acid reflux, because I wasn't eating food, but I was constantly stressing, which is pumping acid, and I was dehydrated. So when the acid would shoot up out of my stomach, it would erode my esophagus. So I couldn't even drink water at the worst of it. So I had to go and be hospitalized for major dehydration. And they would tell me, you need to make changes. And I would hear them say it, but I'd be like, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know what it feels like. I had a mental illness then. I was battling mental illness. And today, they're fostering it. They're keeping it going. And they're championing it. They're making celebrities out of these people. And they're not helping them. We're not trying to help people that have mental illness. We're enabling them, and we're celebrating them. And then people that are weak-minded, they say, well, I could be a celebrity like that and be looked upon because I don't feel good about myself, or I feel low self-esteem, or I'm questioning who I am as a person. So if I do what they're doing, I'm probably going to be recognized and find significance in that. And that's terrible. That's terrible. You're not being guided to live a fulfilling, purpose-driven life where you're comfortable in your own skin. Everybody has stress. Everybody has anxiety. Everybody has discomforts. And they all have their little triggering things. In trading, what you don't realize is you're asking to be part of a culture and a lifestyle that is going to be perpetual stress. You're inviting yourself to be a part of a industry that is predominantly stress-inducing. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is going to fix everybody, because it's not. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician. I'm not telling you how you should live your life and avoid seeing a professional. If you feel like you need to see a professional or see a guidance counselor or some kind of medical professional, let's put it that way, then do it. But don't take whatever opinion they give you. Get a second opinion. For me, I've always had white coat syndrome. White coat syndrome is I don't trust these fucking doctors. And now, after 2020, I sure as fuck don't trust these people. So it's going to take something like it just recently happened where I thought I was having a heart attack. That's what took me to the emergency room. Something short of me losing my life or feeling I'm going to lose my life. And it wasn't anxious. Like I wasn't anxious like I was when I was a younger man. But I knew enough what I was feeling. That was not normal. So because I'm in my 50s, let's go get it checked out. And EKG, CAT scan, blood work, everything came back perfect. Like I have the numbers of a 20-year-old. But I'm also aware that some of you are not going to correct the things like I was able to correct it when I was a little bit younger. If I would have never made these changes that I'm going to cover now, I'm not so certain that my health would be where it is today. I wouldn't be certain that my health of my heart, my organs would be as they are. My blood work, like you have no idea how much stress has an effect on your personal body. And you can make lots of money trading, but you could be extremely unhealthy while making lots of money. And what do you get by that? What's the point of having all that money, building up all this worth, and it shortens your lifespan? Well, I don't care, dude. I'm going to live my life right now. You can't take it with you. Yeah, but the word says, why die before the time? Why invite that end result or deteriorate your health so that way as you're building this wealth up, you're making it impossible for you to go out there and live and have a fruitful, bountiful life with it. What's the purpose? Why make all this money if you're not going to be healthy enough to endure, longer lifetime spending and enjoying and blessing other people with it? What's the point of that? It's pointless. So to have a long, profitable, affluent lifestyle that is a blessing to both you and the people that are around you love and support, your first measure of wealth is your health. And think about how it's been for the last 4 years. Has it been stressful for you? I probably would venture to say it's probably about 65%, if not more, that it's been very stressful. All the things that we've been told we can and can't do. You can't go to funerals. You can't see your loved ones in the hospital. You can't work unless you receive this little thing in your arm ticket. That's all priming for what's about to come. That's all stuff that's leading up to that. And then if you don't have faith in what is on the other side of that stuff, it could be very scary. But in trading, every single day you are throwing yourself in the furnace. This pressure cooker of, I don't know what's going to happen, and if I'm wrong, I'm losing money. Contrast that with, I got to get up, got to drive, spend my gas money, that it's not a tax deduction for me. I got to drive to my job and get paid. The most I can get paid is what I agreed to, so I prostitute my time. And I don't know what workload's waiting for me. I don't know if someone called out now, I have to do their work and mine. Carl's going to be over here and wanting to know what the hell I'm doing, and minding his business is what he should be doing, but he's not. He's stressing me out. All these things are going to compound. But you're not going to make any more money if the workload is increased for that day. You're not getting overtime because they place more workload on you that day. So you have an expected level of stress to some degree when you have your job. But in trading, you have a total different level of stress. And now you can go to work basically and fuck off and spend time on your computer, listen to me, watching my videos, steal from the boss, which is what you should not be doing, and get through the day bare minimum, low output, low performance, and still not get caught, not get fired, and get away with it. You cannot pull that Mickey Mouse shit off in trading. You have to be on point. You have to be aware of what the risks are. You have to keep these risks measured appropriately for your equity and your skill set and your ability. And if you try to spread your wings too far and outside the scope of what your capabilities are, you are asking, and you should not be surprised by the level of stress that you're feeling. And it's a direct relationship to what you try to put on yourself prematurely. And a lot of that comes in the early stages of your development because you're in a rush to make money. And I'm trying to cultivate the mindset of students and my children too, is that there's plenty of money out there waiting. There's plenty of money out there. And when it's no longer about money, and it's about living a principle-oriented life and trading a principle-oriented career, that means you're doing things by the number, not by the stimuli of having the monetary reward. Making money is fun, don't get me wrong. But that's not all of it. Perfect example, I could be making millions of dollars giving all of this information I'm giving out, live streaming, that could be a mentorship. I'm never doing that again. And I'm turning my nose up against millions of dollars because money doesn't make me happy. Money doesn't fill that hole in my heart and my body and my mind and spirit that I get when I help other people, when I'm teaching other people, when I'm investing my time, which I can't get back. I'm pouring it into all of you because I want you to have the lifestyle that I have. Even if you have half of what I have, a quarter of it, or just better than you're at right now, that's a blessing. But it's going to come with stress. And you've already been aware of what stress is in the world. But if you've never traded with real money or had a large loss in trading, you have no idea what anxiety and pressure is. Because if you keep introducing yourself to this stressful environment, not knowing how to engage it, not knowing how to wrestle your intrusive thoughts, you'll fall victim to things that could otherwise be controlled. So let me paint a picture for you, and we'll start going into some of these exercises, and I can get off here and check on my boy. Have you ever watched the market either in a trade or maybe it's not? Let's keep it a broad brush example. Have you ever been in an environment where you had an overwhelming, out of the blue, sudden sense of impending doom, where you feel like you can't catch your breath? Your heart starts palpitating. I mean, it's quickly beating, and you don't know why it's happening. And then you start thinking about how you feel scared all of a sudden for no known reason that you're aware of. And then you feel like you can't catch your breath. And then because you're breathing faster and your heart's beating, you might feel like you're seeing stars, You feel a little bit dizzy. And you might feel like you want to either shit yourself, for lack of a better word, or pass out, or throw up. And for me, that's how it used to be when I was a younger man. I was like, what the hell's going on here? And as I felt that, if I was in a public environment, like at the time when I was working as a young man married to my first wife, I had to have a job back then. I was, going to school, learning computer programming, and then I was working a job. And I had very little time for her. And I knew that was waning on our relationship. And we were too young to have a relationship like that. And we grew apart. But I was stressing about it the whole time. And I was worried about her leaving. I was worried about not being successful in what I was learning. And I couldn't convince her to just wait. Trust me, I'm not going to be lazy. I'm not going to be a bum. I'm not going to be laying around doing dumb shit. I'm going to show us a lifestyle that you can't even imagine. I know it's coming, but you just got to just give me the time to grow to it. She wasn't willing to do that. So I would have anxiety attacks, and when she separated, the first time with me, because we separated several times, but the first time, my body shut down. Like I was in full-blown panic because I couldn't cope without being in a relationship with her. I was codependent to her. I've made my whole being as Michael as her husband, and that's all I was. And that's not healthy. That's not good for someone. And if you're in a relationship where that's how you view yourself, that's not your intended purpose. There has to be something outside of just that. Otherwise, it's not healthy, and you'll never be fulfilled. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be fulfilled by having a strong connection to your spouse, but if that's all it is, like that's not enough. It's never going to be enough because you got to be a mother, a father. You have to have friends. You have to have interactions outside of the house. It's not natural to not be social. We're social beings. But if you can agree with me, take a step back and look at what social media does. It's divisive. It keeps us in tribes. This tribe against that tribe. This race against that race. This sex against that sex. Now we don't know what sex is what now because they're blending and blurring the lines. So it's constantly causing chaos. And it's not a surprise why people are losing their fucking minds because it's stressful. We don't even know who we are as a person anymore, as a people. And now you're asking these individuals that are wrestling with all these problems, these wrestling matches internally, who they are and what their identity is. Now they're going to go in here and compete against the smartest people in the world in the financial markets. And they get the case of the ass when they don't find success right away. This should have worked for me. Why? What did you do to earn it? What have you worked for? What have you done to cultivate and shape your mind with the right mindset so that way you can succeed? Or are you going to tap out to the pressures and the stress it's going to bring on you? Because it's going to bring stress. Every single time you go into the marketplace, you're inviting that opportunity to bring stress on. If you lose money, that's not a fun thing. I've never looked at it and said, man, that was the fastest $50,000. What the hell? Let's do it again. It's not what happens. That's not what happens. You're like, shit. I wish I wouldn't have done that. It would have been better if I would have cut the trade sooner, or if I would have cut half the trade off. It wouldn't have been as impactful as it was here. And you go back through the process of knowing when you were getting that inclination while you were in the trade. That was your first indications that something ain't right. But what did you do? Oh, I'm going to be stubborn. I'm right. It's not about being right. It's about understanding what it's doing. It's giving you feedback. Price is telling you something. But if you hide away from it, what will happen is your breathing will start to increase. Okay? And that elevated rhythm of breath, more breaths than 10 or 11 per minute, that is going to stimulate adrenaline. Once adrenaline enters your body, which is a normal response, don't ever think that you getting an adrenaline dump because you got scared or startled for a moment, that's a scary feeling. But when it first happens and you don't expect it, it is a little unnerving. Because you're like, why do I feel like I'm racing, but I'm sitting still? Like I feel like I got to do something. I got to run. I got to take care of something. I got to escape this moment right here. And when I used to work, that's what I would do. I would tell my supervisor, or I would tell whoever I was working with, or I would just get up and go to the bathroom. And I would try to calm myself down by splashing cold water on my face. That only works to some degree, and that's it. But I wasn't able to understand what I was doing to myself inside. I was feeding that anxiety. I was feeding it toxic thoughts. And what if, and what if, and what if I'm dying? What if this is a heart attack? What if this is a stroke? And I'm in there by myself in a prison of my own mind, literally tormenting myself with ignorance, not knowing what I was feeling was absolutely normal. Our bodies were created to have a fight or flight response to stress or danger. We have an anatomic nervous system that is behind the scenes. It's running your body. The breathing, the exhale and inhale. You're not consciously thinking about breathing. It just happens. Your body knows what to do. But have you ever had a moment where you feel like you don't know how to breathe anymore, like I was mentioning earlier in the stream? My wife told me this the other day. She was like, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like I forgot how to breathe. Like I got to breathe deeper. I said, okay, I know what you're describing. What are you anxious about? She said, how'd you know? I said, because that only happens by a fearful triggering thought. You had an intrusive thought enter your mind, and you're scared about that, and you're not talking about it to release it. You're not reminding yourself there's no emergency. So your body is naturally responding to what you're fearfully thinking as an internal loop going through your mind, constantly telling yourself there's something bad's about to happen. You know, we allowed our nieces to move in to our home, and the older one has gone away to college. She's living on campus, and she was fearful about something that was not likely to happen, but she was fearful of it because she's no longer with us and she's on her own. And she had a little bit of an anxiety attack and she couldn't catch her breath. And I walked her through. I said, listen, this is what you do, okay? If you ever feel discombobulated, and if you are in public setting, if you're around people, quietly and politely excuse yourself. Go to the restroom, okay? If you have the benefit of having your own office space or you're not around other people, then you don't have to worry about this. But the first thing you do is recognize that what you're feeling is just stress. That's all it is. And the first thing you have to do audibly is say, look around, pan around where you're at, and tell yourself out loud, there is no emergency. There is no emergency, and I'm not in any danger. I'm at home in myself right now. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at, and there is no emergency. What I'm feeling is uncertainty about something I absolutely have no control over. So I do have control over how I'm going to respond to it, and I'm choosing not to be fearful of it. It sounds wooden. It sounds artificial, but you need to tell yourself that, because when your subconscious mind hears you say that, that's the first immediate response to activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part that allows you to rest and digest. The anatomic nervous system is divided into two of them. Okay, you have your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is what you have when you go into a fight or flight response, when your heart rate increases, when your breathing increases, when your pupils dilate. They dilate because your body was created to allow more information in, because you're in, I need to protect myself or I'm going to likely die. That's what God has given you, whether you want to acknowledge his existence or not. You can turn off the stream if that bothers you. I don't care. But you were created to have this mechanism. And it runs behind the scene anatomically. That means it's going to do what it's going to do regardless of whether you're aware of it or not. And because stress is not something that everybody expects to create physical symptoms the first time, it's a little scary. And when you're trading or you're in stressful environments, you're constantly being bombarded with stimuli that's most likely going to trigger these things happening. So if you've noticed that your heart is beating faster than it should, or what you're used to seeing it feel, beating in your chest, maybe you ever had it beating in your ear, you ever hear your heartbeat? It's a little scary the first time it happens. Like, what's going on? And you start breathing heavier, deeper than you need to. If you're breathing and if your chest is rising when you're breathing, you're hyperventilating. That means you're taking in too much air and likely too fast. And you're likely blowing off your CO2. So what that does is it over-oxygenates your body's bloodstream. And when that's pumping adrenaline into your bloodstream, which is a natural response because your body's designed to release adrenaline, and that's like rocket fuel. Okay, it is designed for your heart to increase its pace, so that way it doesn't have to wait to catch up. Because if you have to run or fight, you're going to need blood in those muscles to defend yourself or fight or run away from the danger. So it's already kicking up the engine, which is your heart, to keep pumping new blood to these muscles that's going to be required to perform. And your body is triggering your lungs to breathe in more oxygen because you're going to be burning more oxygen as you fight or run away from the danger. But what happens when you're sitting still and you're feeling all these things? You're like a Lamborghini sitting in park with the engine running, and someone's got their foot on the gas pedal to the floor, sitting there. How long do you think that's going to be good for the engine if that's going on? Not long. But that's why you feel like, I got to go, I got to run, I got to do something. Because that's what you're designed to do. Because you feel, you've told yourself internally that there's an emergency, there's a danger here. And it was triggered by some intrusive thought that has become believed by you that it's a danger. Some kind of scary what-if thinking. What if I lose money? What if this trade jumps back and hits my stop loss? What if the market crashes and gaps through my trade? What happens if my wife leaves me? What happens if I get fired? What happens if I don't get the promotion and Carl gets it? You know, all these things. You don't have control over every outcome, and you don't have control over the outcome of your next trade. The only thing you have control over is how you feel and perform and how you react. Because once you place yourself in that trade, you have given all of the outcome and permission to take or add to your account to the marketplace. You've lost all control over your equity. Because that stop loss might do its job if the market does trade to it in a manner that's normal delivery. But what happens if there's an attack somewhere and the market gaps down 150 handles? You don't think that can happen? You don't think it can happen just like that? Because it can. That's why I'm telling you, that's why I'm not trading Forex. That's why I felt second guessing about going in and doing, because I've already said I don't want to be in Forex. And I feel like if I talk about Forex, I'm encouraging it when I know what's about to come is not good. So just take my word for it. The things I'm teaching when I'm talking over NASDAQ, unless it's something specific to Forex, I'll tell you. Otherwise, it's both asset classes. I don't know how to say it better than I want to be responsible as a mentor. And I know that's not going to be liked by people that follow me because they're just simply Forex traders. I'm okay. If you want to end our relationship between teacher and student because of that, you can get a
taste of the ass over that. You're welcome to do that. It's not going to change who I am. It's not going to make me angry. It's not going to hurt my feelings. But I got to be comfortable in my own skin. And I've warned people about being in Forex for a number of years. And look how it's been trading. It's just, ugh. It's not the same as the indices. It's not the same as commodity markets. That's why I went back to them. I'm comfortable there. Okay? I know that there's a big shakeup coming. Something massive is coming. It's going to rock the financial markets. I want to be trading markets that are where I started. I have the most experience with. I believe in these markets, and currencies are going to be affected because there's going to be a change in the monetary system globally. And I don't know how else to say it other than that. Okay, but if you ever had those sensations where you have this quickening of breathing, heart palpitations when it's beating real aggressive and fast, you feel sick to your stomach, you feel like you're going to pass out, you feel dizzy, you feel like you're going to mess yourself, and how embarrassing would that be, right? And that's what I would tell myself. I'm like, I'm at work. I'm around all these people that I work around. How embarrassing if I shit myself in front of people. What happens if I throw up or pass out in front of them? How embarrassing would that be? Not that this is potentially a medical emergency. I could be dying. I didn't think that initially. I was embarrassed about if I lost control of my bowels, if I had lost control of what I had in my stomach and threw up in front of someone or passed out. I've never been drunk before. I've never drank alcohol. I've never done drugs before. I had CBD oil when my back was doing its worst in terms of back spasms and pain because I have a compression injury, but I've never done any other drugs ever. Never. I've never been inebriated. I've never been in an altered state. CBD oil with the THC allowed me to relax in a manner I've never relaxed before. And I only used it for a year and a half, and I've never used it since. It's been years since I've used it. So I don't take any kind of stimulant. I don't take any kind of mind-altering thing. And I don't drink coffee. I don't drink soda. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke marijuana. I don't do any of those things. And you might do those things recreationally, and I'm not going to judge you for it. But I will say that if you're drinking things that are caffeinated and you're trading, you're greatly increasing the likelihood of you having unnecessary levels of stress. And what will happen is you'll get accustomed to it, okay? And high blood pressure, you don't necessarily feel it in the early stages of it. Like stage 1 hypertension, you generally don't feel that. Stage 2, you might, maybe not. But that is really hard on your body. And if you're constantly giving yourself that Monday through Friday, every single day, you can eat well. You can exercise. You could avoid all these drugs and alcohol and do all those things. But guess what you're doing? You're tearing up your body because you're in a heightened state of panic, fight or flight. You're in war mode. If you are feeling heart palpitations when you're trading, your chances are you're over leveraging or you're not trading with a model that you trust and you're just chasing price. If you're all hopped up on goofballs, chances are if you took your blood pressure, it's probably sky high. Don't believe me? Get yourself one on Amazon. It's real simple. Just get it, plug it in, put the batteries in it, put your arm up on the table, and let it do it. Do your blood pressure when you first wake up in the morning, and then do it right when you started trading. Do it. And you're going to find something that's going on that's a physiological response that you weren't aware of. And you're constantly putting yourself in that state of stressful thinking, stressful outcomes being measured as, I got to be right or wrong. I got to be profitable or protect what I have. I don't want to lose more money. I don't want to lose money. And you're looking at a chart fluctuating up and down, and chances are you have no idea what you're doing. You have no logic behind why you're watching those charts. You're hoping and praying, and that's not a model. That's not a model. But you see people out there trying to do that all the time, and you have probably been doing that too. And it's not comfortable, is it? Not knowing what you're doing. It's scary. So what happens when you start feeling that? How can you combat that? How can you wrestle with it? Or if it's not in trading, it just happens to be in any other given time. Because if you probably had an anxiety attack or experienced these things before, it's amazing if nothing continues to scare you. Usually about 10 to 15 minutes later, you're fine. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, what was that? It's anxiety. You got to the point where adrenaline was released in your bloodstream, which is a natural thing. That's a natural thing. You should be thankful that you're given that ability because it enables you to be stronger, faster, more responsive and reactive to dangers. But how do you get back to a regulated nervous system where you're comfortable, where you can digest food and rest? Because if you're anxious, you can't sleep. When you're anxious, your food doesn't digest well. That's why you have a nervous stomach. You ever heard the term, oh, I have a nervous stomach, and you ate something that's probably healthy, but you may have diarrhea. You may have a constipation going on. It's because when you are staying in this condition of fight or flight, which is where your sympathetic nervous system has been turned on, it's real easy to turn that on because it's fear-induced. If you keep doing that, if you keep allowing stressful environments to stimulate that aspect of your nervous system, what'll happen is it gets caught in a loop, and you stay in this loop where you have an elevated blood pressure, you have an elevated heart rate, you have elevated inhalation and breath. So you're constantly feeding yourself levels of toxicity that you're not able to burn off. If you feel anxious, if it starts off like that, and it hasn't released cortisol, and I'll tell you what that means and how you know when it's done that in a moment, but let me get through this part first. The first thing you do is look around where you're at and you tell yourself out loud, I am safe and there is no emergency. I'm absolutely safe in my own skin, comfortable, and I'm right where I need to be. There is no emergency. And I am just feeling the symptoms of an intrusive thought, and I am choosing not to be fearful. What your subconscious is going to hear, and it's going to draw from this is, oh, okay, this is just like anything else. It's a jump scare. So turn everything back to normal, and your parasympathetic nervous system, where you go back to normal relaxation, the normal functions of everyday life, where you can fall asleep if you sit still long enough, and you can digest your food if you eat something. That's the normal functions of your body when it's not in fight or flight. But what happens if that isn't enough? Well, that means you probably have adrenaline coursing through your body, so you have to find yourself a way to burn that off. The easiest way to do that is just simply take a walk. It doesn't need to be a fast-paced walk. Just walk. But what happens if you work at a cubicle and you can't get up and just walk because that's going to draw attention to yourself? You're expected to be in your cubicle doing something. Okay, then you simply do body tension, where you try to flex all of your muscles at the same time, and you just squeeze that for as long as you can until fatigue. And you just relax. When you stop squeezing all your muscles, that means tightening your biceps, squeezing your fists, squeezing your thighs, squeezing your ass, like everything in your body. Squeeze your lats, your pecs. Hold that tension up to 2 minutes. And then at the end of 2 minutes, slowly release everything. As slow as you can possibly do it. Just slowly do it. The whole time, you're taking relaxed breathing. Not trying to count anything. You're just doing relaxed breathing because your focus is going to be on the ability of holding your muscles tight. What that does, it blocks the intrusive thoughts. That means that you can't think about anything else except for the constant tension in your body. Your anxiety attack was triggered by a what if thought. What if this happens? What if that happens? Nothing physically was there threatening you. It's just something that you thought about scary that you know deep down inside you have no control over, and that scared you, and you're afraid of the outcome being adverse to you. So you combat that by subduing your thought, replacing it with something positive. You're not going to get hurt by holding your muscles clenched up for 2 minutes. It's actually going to help your blood pressure lower down, and it's going to replace that intrusive thought or repeating loop of scary thinking and what-if thinking to you constantly thinking about, okay, I'm keeping my lats tight. I'm squeezing my pecs. I'm squeezing my biceps. My forearm muscles are squeezing. I'm squeezing my fists as hard as I can. I'm squeezing my thighs. I'm squeezing my calves. I'm flexing everything. And it's a fatiguing thing. And that's how you burn the adrenaline off. It only takes a couple minutes. But there is a stage that goes past that where you stay in that fight or flight thought process in anxiety, and it turns into full-blown panic. A panic attack is when cortisol is released. That's your stress hormone. Your body releases this chemical in your body to compensate for high levels of stress. And when it's released in your bloodstream, it lays down cholesterol in your arteries. That's the way it protects the arteries because it's toxic. If you don't burn through it by running and fighting and doing what's been given to you as a superhuman characteristic, it's your mutant power. Everybody has this in ourselves. But if you don't use it appropriately, it's like that Lamborghini sitting in the garage with the engine running, and you got the gas pedal all the way to the floor. The engine's going to be screaming, but it's going nowhere. That's what a panic attack is. Your body saying, let's go, let's do something, fight, or let's get the hell out of here. But you're sitting still, not knowing what's going on. And you're going to be in front of your charts, and you're going to have this happen one day. And as soon as you start feeling body symptoms, that's when you know you're at the early stages of full-blown panic. What does it feel like? You'll start feeling tingling in your face. When I would have it, it would always start with my left eyebrow towards the end, the edge of my face. It would start like a tingling that would go down that right underneath my left eye and then go down to my upper lip and down into my chin. So naturally, what am I thinking? I'm having a stroke. I'm having a stroke. And I would get up. I'm in a trade. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What am I doing here? And then I'm telling myself, there's something scary. So what is that? I'm feeding it, right? So I have adrenaline coursing through my body. I have now cortisol releasing in my body. And now I'm feeling physical body symptoms. And it's scaring me. And I'm telling myself, I'm having a stroke. So what do you think my brain's saying? Shit! We are having a stroke. We got to do something. What do we do? I don't know, but let's keep pumping all these chemicals because we have to fight or flight. You can't run from a stroke. You can't run from a heart attack. But I was feeding my brain, something terrible is happening to me. Something terrible is about to happen to me. So you're feeding all that stuff. So as soon as you start feeling body symptoms, you might start seeing stars, like the little squiggly things that go around in your eyes. That's if you ever watch a cartoon where Tom and Jerry would hit the cat over top of the head, and Tom would be like, "Oh shit!" and he'd see little stars or little birds flying around as a cartoon analogy to seeing stars. If you turn your head real far to the right or left and hold it there, and then quickly turn it back, chances are you'll probably see stars because you're constricting the blood vessels inside your neck, and then you're quickly bringing it back to the front. You'll see stars. Or if you get dizzy, you feel like you're woozy or whatever. That's usually also a symptom when cortisol is released in your bloodstream. And that's an effect of you sitting still when you are in full-blown panic and you need to be doing something. Walk. Body tension. But you absolutely have to now, at this point, you have to start changing and regulating your breath. With adrenaline, it's just a time thing. It'll burn off. But when you start feeling body symptoms of, I feel like I'm going to be sick, I feel like I'm going to be passing out, I feel like I'm going to shit myself, I feel like I'm going to, die, basically. The way you capture that and subdue it is, again, say out loud that there is no emergency. I choose not to be afraid, and all I'm doing is responding, and my body's responding to a scary thought. There is no emergency. I'm safe where I'm at. I choose not to be afraid. And when you do this, your subconscious hears that. It starts the process of activating your parasympathetic nervous system. That means that it's going to go through your brain, down your vagus nerve, which is the longest nerve in your body. It goes down from the stem of the brain, down both sides of your neck behind the carotid artery on both sides, or right behind your ears, drops down behind your collarbones. It literally attaches to every major organ, to your heart, to your lungs, liver, kidneys, all the way through it, okay, into your colon. If you're in full-blown panic, say you're in a cubicle and you don't want to add more confusion or attention to yourself, because that might be also a source of anxiety, because you don't want people thinking you're losing your mind, that you're crazy, because you're going to feel like you are. Like you're at your wit's end, you feel like it's going to unravel. It's a scary, sickening feeling, but it's a normal feeling. I want you to know that. It's a normal response to stress. If you let it go unchecked, what you're feeling is absolutely normal. And it's something that you can quickly reset. I'm going to teach it to you now, okay? When we're breathing normally, we're not thinking about it. We don't think about our breath. It just happens. But when you enter stressful environments, or you're trying to combat stress becoming a panic attack, or if you are in a panic attack, this is your first skill set. You've already said to yourself there's no emergency, and you're choosing not to be afraid, and you're comfortable where you are, and you're safe. You have to say it audibly. You can't say it in your head. You got to say it out loud. If you can't do that, try to excuse yourself to the bathroom where you feel comfortable doing it. It only takes a couple of minutes to get yourself regulated, okay? So the first thing you want to do is, if you have your phone or if you have a watch, it's better to have like a sweep second hand on your watch. Anybody with a digital watch today is an idiot. You should always have a nice Swiss piece with a sweep second hand on it. If you don't have that, on your phone, just turn on the timer. And you need a minimum of 1 minute. So what you're going to do is you're going to sit still, okay, and you're going to try to relax and put your fingers on your wrist and find your pulse. Chances are it's going to be going real, real fast. You're not trying to tell yourself it's too fast. You're not trying to acknowledge that it's too fast, but you're going to feel that it's probably elevated. That's a normal thing. That's not something dangerous. It feels like it's dangerous. It feels scary, but it's absolutely normal. I used to freak out when I was checking my pulse, and I would go through this coping skill, and it scared me. And I'm telling you, there's no reason for you to be afraid of it. It's your body doing what it's designed to do, protect you, okay? So because I'm right-handed, I would take my two fingers, my index and my middle finger, and I would find my pulse on my left wrist. And it would be tacking away, and then I would watch the sweep second hand on my watch. If I don't have this on me, I'm watching a digital counter of a timer. And because I was more prone to have panic attacks, I literally had a sports stopwatch. I literally had, it was like one of my little comfort things. Like I asked one time before, do you ever fidget when you're trading? There was a thing a couple years ago, a fidget spinner. I have a deck of cards. A deck of cards helps me keep my focus on something external from price. If I'm in a very large position, the way I manage that is I don't think about the money. I'm thinking about the cards, the deck of cards in my hand. And I riffle through the cards. You've probably heard them in live streams, or you've probably heard them in old Twitter spaces. You hear this riffling sound. That's just simply me riffling my thumb down the side of the deck. What you're doing is you're distracting yourself by checking your pulse, and then you're going to count the beats of your pulse for a minimum of 1 minute. So you find the first beat and you count that. And you keep counting until this 1 full minute has gone by. What you're doing is you're taking your attention away from whatever intrusive thought that's scary what if thinking. You can't think that right now. You can't. It's impossible for you to have two thoughts in your head at the same time. It's impossible. So you have to separate yourself at a minimum of 1 minute. Now, it may take a little bit longer than 1 minute, but at least in 1 minute, that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That means it's going to slowly restore back to rest or digest, or rest and digest, where your body is normalized. It's regulated your nervous system. You're not in panic mode. If you're in a trading environment that you're constantly putting yourself in fearful of, you're probably stuck in a deregulated nervous system. That means you're constantly in a fight or flight. And you'll know that because of how you feel when you're done. When you leave trading, are you exhausted? Are you completely wiped out? You worn out? Chances are you were in this heightened state of fight or flight. That means your sympathetic nervous system has been activated and you have been looping through that. Your heart rate's been probably elevated the entire time. You probably had high blood pressure the entire time. You've probably been in a elevated respiratory cycle where you're breathing too much air. And while you're watching the 1 minute transpire and you're counting the beats of your heart, the only thing you can think of is keeping track of the counting. Describe the color of your car and what model and make it is while you're counting your pulse. Can you do that? Nobody fucking can. That's proof that you can't have an intrusive thought. So by counting the beats of your pulse while you're watching 1 minute transpire, you're physically separating yourself from intrusive, scary thoughts. That's what started the panic attack. That's what started the fearful event that released the adrenaline, that released the cortisol, or will eventually release the cortisol. And when cortisol enters the bloodstream, then you're really going to feel body symptoms. And if you've never felt that before, you are absolutely going to shit yourself. Maybe not literally, but preferably. It's scary. It's very, very scary. You feel like you're losing you feel like you're undone, like you're going to fall out and die. And that's a normal response. Their body is doing something to get you to run away or fight. And if you're not burning those chemicals off, you're going to feel all that uncomfortable state because you're sitting still doing nothing. But after 1 minute of counting your pulse out loud, 1, every time it beats 2, 3, 4, and you're watching the sweep second hand on your watch, or you're watching the countdown on some kind of digital counter, whether it be your phone or whatnot, that's what starts. It takes literally 30 to 60 seconds for your parasympathetic nervous system to activate. There are faster ways to turn it on. I'll teach you that in a minute. But this is the first one where you start to talk yourself down. Okay? As you're counting them, as you're counting the heartbeat, every 15 seconds you can tell yourself, I'm safe, there is no emergency, and then go back to counting. So what are you doing? You're breaking up that 1 minute every 15 seconds, and you're reminding yourself, there's no emergency, I'm safe. There's no emergency, I'm safe. And at the end of the 1 minute, you say out loud, I'm having a stressful reaction to a scary thought. There is no emergency. I choose not to be afraid. And do another 1 minute. Within that 2 minutes, the adrenaline will not release into your body. You'll stave off the attempts of cortisol being released in your body. Your breath will be reduced down to a normal cycle of breathing. It won't be elevated to 18 to 25 breaths a minute. And you won't be heaving with your chest. You need to be breathing from your belly button. Deep belly breathing is a physical exercise that will allow you to compensate for the scary stimuli that you're feeling as a result of those two chemicals, adrenaline and cortisol. They are natural hormones that are being released into your bloodstream for the purposes of protecting you. But if you don't understand that, you think it's killing you. You think your body is dying, and it's not. It's doing everything it's designed to do. And that's a normal, reassuring thing. But what happens if you need to quickly get a hold of yourself, and you can't do it like that? But you feel it coming on. You feel a little bit stressed out. And you don't feel the effects of adrenaline coming in, but you just feel like if I don't get control of myself, I can see it coming. I can feel it coming. Or stress is beginning to come into your day. How can you get yourself prepared to unwind and release that immediately? Well, what you want to do is you want to take a deep, slow breath. Okay, and I mentioned this in a Twitter, not a Twitter space, but a live stream. Not the last one, I think the one before it, but you want to take your breath, breathe it all out first. Wherever you're at in your breathing, just breathe it all out. All the exhale out. And have empty lungs. At the moment it's empty, it's going to be hard for you, most of you doing it the first time. Hold that empty lung state for 4 seconds. You're going to feel like you want to breathe in. Don't. Just relax. And then at the end of 4 seconds, slowly breathe in, but breathe in from your belly. Try not to raise your chest up. You want to make your stomach stick out like a baby. When a baby breathes, you ever watch a baby breathe? It's belly breathing all the time. It's not raising its chest up. The only time it's raising its chest up is when it's crying. What is it doing? It's having an anxiety attack. That's why it's crying. It's uncomfortable. That's why it's breathing with its chest up and down. So you're going to breathe from an exhale state, empty lung, after 4 seconds. You're going to breathe in from your belly, and you're going to try to focus on all the air going into your lungs, going down to your belly, and your belly should stick out from your navel. Imagine your belly extending out as you breathe in. And at the point when you breathe in slow, you want it to be about 4 to 5 seconds inhalation, nothing longer than that. But at the time where you think that you've breathed in a full inhalation, quickly sniff through your nose the last little piece of pocket of empty space and go like this. It's like, say, I breathe in, and then I go. Whatever little bit of air you can suck in with that last little sniff, hold that for 2 to 3 seconds, and then slowly let the air fall out, but with pursed lips. That means like you're going to whistle, but you're not whistling. You're letting the air leave your lungs with pursed lips, but it has to be double the amount of time that you inhale. So if you are counting how many seconds you're breathing in, if it's 4, then you got to exhale at least for 8 seconds. If you inhale for 5 seconds, you have to exhale for 10 seconds. The first few times you do this, it's not, especially when you're in panic, it's going to be uncomfortable. But the more you do it, the quicker you'll be able to get into a parasympathetic nervous system. You're regulating your nervous system. That way, all these scary things and feelings that you're feeling, it's going to be hard for you to concentrate. But the first thing you have to do is get control of your breath. If cortisol is in your bloodstream and you're feeling body symptoms, the quickest way to overcome that and regulate yourself is your breath. But what happens if you feel it coming, you know that you're under stress, but you want to reset your nervous system real quick? It's this breathing exercise. 2 or 3 times, like I'll literally do it. It kind of sounds weird. It's going to feel weird listening to it, but I want you to hear what you're going to do. And I'm sure people are going to listen to it and be making jokes about it, and they can fuck right off. But the point is, eventually, they're going to have a stressful environment. And if they use this, they're going to see how fast it fixes it. It completely resets your nervous system. You can't have a panic attack. If you control your nervous system, you can't go into panic, period. That's the end of the story. And then you won't release the adrenaline, which then eventually releases cortisol. That's the stage. That's the way. That's the process. That's how it works. So to keep that from happening, as soon as you start to feel stress, like, oh no, I'm getting ready to take this trade, but I might miss it, and you feel stress, do this. Exhale. At the end of the exhalation, hold it for 4 seconds and then repeat it. Do that 3 times. You got no fucking anxiety. You got no fucking panic attack. It ain't coming, and you're going to have oxygenation. You're going to feel dialed the fuck in. You're going to feel like you're perfectly right where you're supposed to be at. That's how you prevent stress turning into anxiety, and then anxiety turning into full-blown panic attack. That's the stages of dealing with stress. If you feel the adrenaline getting ready to probably release the cortisol, and you just can't find yourself to come down from it, and you're looping in this sympathetic nervous system response, fight or flight. There's 2 parts of your body where your vagus nerve, which is the nerve that runs from your brain that lays down over top of all of your organs, okay? There's 2 places in our body where it's closest to the surface of the skin where we can stimulate it. It's directly behind your ears at the bottom of your earlobe. Go back about a half an inch, okay? And first of all, find the point of your jaw on both sides of your face. Put your index fingers on the corner of your jawbone, and then go back about a half an inch, okay? And then go straight up to where you're behind your ear. If you take your index finger or your index finger and your middle finger together, the fingertips, you don't want to do this too hard. Just like if you're petting a puppy's head, you're going to do that same thing, going behind your ear, straight down the sides of your neck until you touch the tops of your collarbone, or at the top of your shoulders, rather. And you're going to do that multiple times for about a minute. What you're doing is you're stimulating your vagus nerve, and by stimulating your vagus nerve, that is the nerve that controls your heartbeat. If you stimulate that, what it will do is, and you're breathing relaxed. That means slow in-breaths for 4 seconds to 5 seconds, and then slow release, relax for 8 to 10 breaths, 8 to 10 seconds rather, for the exhale. Your exhale, the key to you controlling your breath and stress and anxiety is that your exhales have to be double what the time is of your inhalation. When you're inhaling, your heart rate increases. Don't believe me? Measure it. When you exhale, your heart rate drops. It relaxes. So if you have a heart palpitation, how do you do it? How do you fix it? Slow, shallow inhales, long exhalations. The long exhalations for a few minutes will completely take away your heart palpitation. Now, if you're having a medical emergency and you're doing this for 5 minutes and your heart rate ain't coming down, you probably should see medical treatment, because you're probably having something that is beyond the scope of generalized anxiety. But I have had very, very high blood pressure, and it was me being fearful of a recent attack of vertigo. I've never had vertigo before. I've only had 1 episode of it, but it lingered over a span of 2 or 3 days. But the biggest part of it was this one big attack that happened at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was in a constant state of expectation that it was going to happen again. thinking that it was a stroke, thinking it was heart failure, something like that. And I wasn't willing to go to the hospital yet. So I had this period of elevated high blood pressure because of constant feeding myself. What if I am having a stroke? What if I am having a heart attack? And I bought myself a blood pressure cuff. I bought two of them. I had two of them giving me a reading. And they were very close to one another, but I was getting very, very high readings that should have put me in a trip to the emergency room to get checked out. And then I started applying these skill sets that I'm teaching you here. And then I brought my blood pressure down to 110/60. Now, 110/60, that's fucking phenomenal. Like that's a very good, healthy blood pressure. They want you to have, I think it's 120/80. It used to be lower than that, but I think they're making compensations for the diet they've been feeding everybody. But 110/60, and I was able to accomplish that when I was having readings of 186/120. I'm sorry, 115, something like that. There's a few times I had 120, 126, but that's elevated. Like that's an elevated blood pressure. So you want to be able to fix that if you can, because staying like that's not healthy. And in 2 or 3 minutes of doing these breathing exercises, I would drop the blood pressure that I was just describing to you down to healthy levels. So that means that I don't have blood pressure that's prolonged and stayed in that condition. It just means that I was under pressure of stress that was all self-induced by scary what if thinking. And my heart rate was tacking at around 120 beats per minute consistently. So that's doing what? It's holding a level of fight or flight. So I was trapped in a loop inside my sympathetic nervous system. So it was deregulated. So I had to regulate my nervous system. And that's breathing exercises, self-talk, and isolated muscle tension. Those exercises, doing that. And then a 20-minute walk. All those things will combat stress. You'll keep panic from happening. But what happens if you want another skill set? Say none of these, say box breathing, what I was just describing. Say that's not working for you. Because unfortunately, sometimes that breathing exercise itself doesn't work, and they need to have an immediate response where they can feel relaxation come over top. And how can you do that? Well, as I mentioned before, if you can find yourself a way to stretch, like when you're in bed, before you get out of bed, every morning you should do this. Stretch yourself, like stretch your arms, elongate yourself one side longer than the other, reach your arm above your head on the bed and stretch your legs stiffed out, really stretch out there. And what'll happen is you'll stretch and you'll get this really good morning yawn. And then when you're done yawning, you feel really relaxed. As soon as you yawn, you have activated your parasympathetic nervous system. That means you immediately turned it on. There's no delay there. It's immediate. You're not bringing it down with breathing exercises. You immediately just turned it on. I talked about how, because I'm a dog owner, I'm a pet parent, if you have a dog, you should watch them. Before they go to sleep, you ever notice how fast it takes them? It takes little time for a dog to fall asleep. They go to their laying spot. They'll walk around several times because they want to smell their own paw print. Their paw pads have their scent glands in them. And they walk until they smell their own scent. And then they lay down. And as soon as they get themselves comfortable in their position, they'll do this. Instantly, they're asleep. What did they just do? They activated their parasympathetic nervous system. That's what they just did. And then they could go to sleep. So if you're having problems with insomnia, which I battled with my entire life, when I need to sleep, and because I don't, and I answered this young man that was on Twitter earlier saying, because I told everybody, I've said this before, I sleep in 2 periods of 4 hours. And I couldn't do that when I was working, obviously. I needed to sleep more. I needed more recuperation time. But because I don't work, I don't have a stressful life, I sleep for 4 hours. I sleep when I feel like I need to sleep. And then I get up, I do whatever I want to do. And when I feel the need for sleep, I'll sleep for 4 hours. And in between those, if I need to take a cat nap of 10, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, I will. But I don't ever feel, I'm tired, I'm lethargic, okay. Because I don't burn out because I'm sitting in traffic, back and forth commuting. I don't work with Carl. I don't spend 8 hours, 12 hours a day. I don't work 6 hours a week. I'm sorry, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. I don't work a part-time job in addition. Like I have a very comfortable lifestyle. So the demand for sleep for me is lower than what it would be for everyone else. So when I say, when you live my lifestyle where you're not going to work, you're going to find that you don't need a lot of sleep. It's actually not good for you to have that much sleep if you're not stressfully burning yourself out. But if you're constantly in a state of stress and you're constantly working hard at a job that requires you to constantly go, 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 you're going to need a lot more time to sleep and recuperate. But I don't have that type of lifestyle, so that's why my life doesn't demand that measure of level of stress, basically. I'm sorry, sleep for stress. So let's do an exercise real quick, and then I'm going to close this, and we've done enough today. I want you, wherever you're at, if you're driving a car, please don't do this, okay? But if you're home, if you're comfortable, okay, I want you to sit up in your chair, okay? Sit up, straighten your back out, okay? And then what I want you to do is stare straight ahead with your eyes open. Your eyes are going to stay open the entire time. Do not close your eyes. You can blink when you need to blink, but don't close them. And now what I want you to do is I want you to keep everything as it is. Your head straight, your back straight, pull your shoulders back a little bit, just that way you have good posture. And then I want you to take your eyeballs and turn as far as you can, just your eyes. You're not turning your head. Your nose stays pointing straight ahead. But you're going to turn your eyeballs, both your left and right eyeball points, as far as you can, turn them to the right. It's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you're going to hold that for 30 seconds, okay? Give me a second while you're getting yourself comfortable here. I want to set my timer. Okay, I want to stopwatch. I'm going to tell you to look as far as you can with your eyes open. Blink when you feel like you need to, but keeping your nose straight ahead, your back straight, your shoulders pulled back. Only turn your eyes as far as you can to the right. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you want to wander your eyes around, move them around. Don't. Stay there starting right now. You're going to keep looking as far as you can just with your eyeballs to the right, holding them there as far as you can. It's normal for you to feel like you want to move your eyeballs around. Don't. Keep trying to look to the right. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable. You're not going to hurt yourself. It's not going to hurt your vision. Everything's normal. You got 15 seconds left. Just keep doing it. Keep holding it. Keep your nose straight ahead, but you're turning your eyes as far as you can to the right. As far as you can, as far as you can, as far as you can. Okay? And now look straight ahead. So your eyes are pointing straight ahead with your nose. Did you feel like you wanted to take a deep breath and sigh, or did you yawn at any time during that time period? Did you feel the need to want to do that? If you didn't, it's okay, but if you did, you just activated your parasympathetic nervous system. Now you're going to do the same thing to the left. Nose straight ahead, shoulders back, look as far as you can to the left with both your eyes. As far as you can look into the left side of your eye, corner of your eye, keep looking there as hard as you can, okay? I'm going to start the timer again. Keep looking as far as you can with your eyes to the left. Anytime you feel like you got to blink, just blink, but don't look away. Don't move it around with your eyeballs. Just keep looking to the left as far as you can. If it's uncomfortable, it's okay. It's not going to hurt your vision. It's not going to hurt your eyes. You got 14 seconds left. Just relax and just keep holding it there. Keep holding it there. And you might have an involuntary sigh or you feel like you want to yawn. If you feel like you want to yawn, yawn. That's how you activate. If you can't make yourself yawn, this is how you can get it to happen. But if you sigh, it's the same thing. You can relax now and look straight ahead. That's how you activate your parasympathetic nervous system. You can do that at your job. You can do that wherever you're at. You just don't want to be doing it while you're driving. You can imagine the complications in driving a motor vehicle while doing that. Okay? So as long as you're in a safe environment where you can do that, you can immediately activate your your parasympathetic nervous system. And when you do that, you immediately turned off the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system. That means you turned it off. Your body will not release adrenaline. It will not release cortisol. It turns it off immediately. In the evening time, when you're ready to bed down and go to sleep, or when you're done your trading day and you're done, you're going to go about the regular things that you do in the day, do that exercise. Or stretch yourself, stretch your arms and your body with the intended purpose of finding that elusive yawn. Because if you yawn, enjoy it. Really, really savor that yawn. Because when you do that, you have immediately activated your parasympathetic nervous system. That means you turned off all stress hormone production. You've turned off all fight or flight. You've completely entered into the rest and digest state of mind. You'll be able to go to sleep at nighttime if you do that before you go to bed. You'll be able to fall asleep faster. You'll be able to sleep more soundly. And when you wake up, start your day the same way. If you don't realize it, when you wake up in the first few minutes of your morning, you probably are thinking about what if this and what if that and what do I got to do here? And I don't really want to go to work. You're immediately flooding yourself with what? Bad, toxic thoughts. And the average person, and I learned this from Lucinda Bassett's book, Attacking Anxiety. Okay, back in 2001 when I had all the anxiety attacks, I was buying everything I could for coping skills for managing anxiety. And she brought up a statistic that I thought was kind of silly when she first introduced it in her book. I thought, there's no way I'm thinking that many times a negative thought. And I was actually doing more than that. Over 300 times a day, the average person thinks about something toxic, scary, or self-defeating. And every single time that you notice yourself doing that, keep account of it and tell yourself, I don't need to think that way. And there's no reason why I should be thinking that way. I'm an overcomer. I'm comfortable. I'm healthy. I'm moving towards success. And I don't choose to be fearful. You're giving yourself self-talk. You're coaching yourself. You're replacing these negative, intrusive thoughts, and you're coaching yourself to think about things positively. You can't have a negative thought when you're expressing a positive self-talk. It can't share the same space. It can't share the same time. So this is what I've done over my lifetime to conquer fear, conquer anxiety. I have absolutely no anxiety. I have no fear at all. I have nothing but that physical symptom of vertigo, which was a small little calcium deposit that broke away inside my inner ear. It moved inside one of my tubes in my ear. And it tricks your brain because it's piped directly into your brain. The nerve is from your ear. It makes you feel like you're spinning. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, being woke up, feeling like I'm spinning around 100 miles an hour, it's a very scary feeling. And when your eyes start twitching, because your brain's saying you're spinning, but you're really not, your eyes thinking, okay, I'm spinning. And it's almost like your eyeballs are in a spasm or a seizure. And I couldn't see. I just saw things spinning around like I was on a carousel, but it was spinning violently. But after about 30 seconds, the crystal settled down and stopped moving around. But I felt like that was going to happen for days after all over again. But I've since learned how, if I have that experience again, I know there's 2 specific routines that I can do to make that be alleviate the sensation of that dizziness. It's not going to be pleasurable, I'm sure, but at least I know now how to deal with it. I have a coping skill should I ever have another bout of vertigo. And that was self-inflicted because the day before I inverted myself about 10 different times in a short span of time. I was doing biceps, I was doing lat pull downs and such, and then I would elongate my back by going upside down between sets. And I kept doing that, and I think what happened was because of the blood pressure building up in my head, going upside down multiple times in a short period of time, it broke away one of those little calcium deposits that we have naturally in our brain, in our ear. And when that breaks off and goes into your inner ear, it tricks your brain because it takes spatial displacement in that little gel that's inside our ears, and it tells your brain that you're spinning when you're not. And it's a very scary and uncomfortable feeling. But apart from that moment, in that time, I had no anxiety. Like I haven't had anxiety in years, long time, like decades, really. But I used the coping skills that I just taught you here today. And I'm certain that if you are stressful while you're in trades, if you do these things, like when you're when you feel like you're being stressed out while you're in a trade, do that one breathing technique where you exhale everything, hold it for 4 seconds, inhale slow, 4 to 5 seconds. And at the top of what you think is a full inhalation, sniff through your nose the last little piece of pocket space to fill up. Hold that for 2 to 3 seconds, and then slow exhale, 8 seconds to 10 seconds, whatever you can do comfortably. And at the end of the exhale, wait 4 seconds, and then repeat it again. Do at least 2 to 3 times of that. You'll immediately shake off the anxiety. You won't have any stress. It fixes it immediately. And you can do that anywhere. You can do it while you're driving. You can do it at work. Nobody knows what you're doing. It's a very relaxing, immediate triggering of centering yourself and recalibrating your nervous system. And that's exactly what you want to be trading in. You want to have a parasympathetic state of mind where your nervous system is at rest and digest. When you're in a state of fight or flight, if you eat, your food will not digest, because when you're in that state of mind, what happens is it dilates your pupils so that way you can take in more information from your vision. You need to see the dangers coming at you. When you're telling yourself there is one, there ain't one. Your heart rate increases so that we can run faster and be stronger, because it's pumping blood to the muscles that's going to be required for you to run or fight with. Your inhalation is happening more increased because it wants to bring oxygen to those muscles that's being pumped through the increased blood flow from your heart rate increased. And it turns off your digestive system. It literally turns off the ability for you to piss. Those are physiological responses. You ever notice how you might have to pee? Oh, I gotta pee. And if you get scared, guess what happens? Either you're gonna immediately piss yourself, or you lose all sensation that you need to pee, because now your sympathetic nervous system has turned on. It turns off the ability for you to go to the bathroom. It turns it off. You can't pee. You can't urinate when you're in that state of mind, because you can't stop. You have to fight or flight. That's how you know there's a designer. That's how you know there's a creator. But I hope you learned something today. I hope I was helpful in some capacity. I hope I gave you something to cope with the everyday stresses that you can absolutely keep from turning into full-blown panic. And you can keep yourself in a more centered state of mind while you're trading. And that way you can keep yourself composed. You don't want to be trading with a fight or flight stimuli, in your brain, and we're wrestling with a clouded mind, because you can't think clearly if you're in panic. You can't protect your money, and you can't make money in a state of mind that's full of panic. So now you have multiple skill sets. You have multiple things that you can now apply to your life and remove and start controlling stress. If you want to look at things more about it, just do research on the anatomic nervous system and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, and look at things about the vagus nerve. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the other one. I told you there's two places in the body. If you're stimulating the vagus nerve behind your ears, going down the sides of your neck, you're lightly stroking the behind your ear down to your neck. What that's doing is it's stimulating your vagus nerve. So if it's calmed down, it won't send signals to your heart to increase your heart rate, which won't increase your lung inhalation rate to increase, which won't trigger the adrenaline release, which won't release cortisol if left unchecked. That's the natural progression of everything happening in your body, which is a normal function. It's not something abnormal. But if you're not doing anything while you're putting yourself through that, it can make you feel a little scary. The other part of your body, and this is something you can do with your cubicle if you're stuck at work, or if you're stuck in traffic and you're having stress or anxiety. Like, I used to have anxiety attacks in traffic when I used to have a job. I hated being stuck in traffic. I was like, what happens if I have to use the bathroom? Like, how embarrassing would that be if I had to all of a sudden now have to use the bathroom? And I would have anxiety attacks over something stupid as that. Silly, isn't it? It's probably laughing at me, right? I used to laugh at it, feeling like, why the hell am I worried? I'm going to shit myself here in this traffic. I'm in the middle lane. Nobody's moving. I can't get off. There's no exit ramps. Like, there's nothing I can do. But what happens if I have to go to the bathroom? It never happened, mind you, but that was a really stupid, intrusive thought that made a huge, scary feeling all the time for me. I hated being in traffic for that reason. But what you do is you take your middle finger, okay, usually you use your stronger hand, and you literally place the tip of your middle finger of your strongest hand and place it inside your belly button, okay? And for men, some of you women might feel this too, and again, this is the reason why children should not be listening to my live stream, okay? We're all adults here. I know some dickheads and little childhood mentality people are going to take this out of context. But if you place your middle finger inside your belly button as deep as you can without hurting yourself, obviously, and then you slowly make a circular pattern, okay, counterclockwise. You may feel, if you're a male, your penis. You might feel something in your penis, and a woman may feel that in her clitoris. That's your vagus nerve, or vagus nerve rather, being stimulated. If you're sitting still and you're in a position where you can do that to calm yourself down and you're in full-blown panic, if you do that for about 2 to 3 minutes while controlling your breath, you'll immediately come out of anxiety and you'll immediately regulate your sympathetic nervous system. You'll activate your parasympathetic nervous system. So you'll be comforted. It's not masturbation, so stop kidding around with yourself. And I know some of you have a childhood mentality here, but there's two places in our body that the vagus nerve is closest to the skin where it can be stimulated to calm yourself down. That's the nerve that triggers and controls all of your organs and the response to stress. So if you're stimulating the sides of your neck with the vagus nerve behind your ears, and you don't want to do that too hard because it could cause you to feel like you're seeing stars, because then you're affecting the carotid artery. That's what you're not doing that. You're going behind that. The other part is your belly button, and you just counterclockwise with your middle finger, and you're counterclockwise stimulating that for 2 to 3 minutes. Not to the point where it hurts, but it's going to be at the edge of where it could hurt if you press a little bit further, and you just do that for 2 to 3 minutes, up to 5 minutes, but nothing longer than that. And you'll find that you're able to just counteract these body symptoms, and your stress can be turned off beautifully. It's amazing how our body is so dynamic that we have the ability to control these things. But unfortunately, I live with years of stress. And a lot of people are victims of that same stuff because they don't know how to come out of that loop where the sympathetic nervous system has been triggered and they don't know how to come out of it. It's easy to go into the state of mind of scary fight or flight. It's hard